Like this purposes for the common demand.
$6.7 billion. Out of this, an amount of 47.7 billion was validated for payment. A significant 10.3 billion was rejected outright, and 8.6 billion remains subject to further justification before any payments can properly be made. These are not small discrepancies. They raise serious questions about controls, documentation, and accountability in the management of our public obligations. But let us be very, very clear here. This hearing is not about headlines. Neither is it about settling political scores. As a nation, we have been here before. If we would all recall, a similar exercise was conducted when the NPP took over power from the NDC in 2017. This audit was titled Report of the Auditor General on Liabilities of Ministries, Departments, and Agencies as at 31st December 2016. The audit was conducted for claims and bank transfer advice, just as it's been done here. And a total of 11.8 billion was submitted for validation. And out of that, 6.3 billion was validated and 5.3 billion rejected outright, revealing comparable weaknesses. So there's history to guide us, and it tells us that this issue is not occasional. We see it whenever there is a change in government and stock of liabilities are to be validated. It is structural. And that is precisely why we must approach this process with discipline, fairness, and clarity of purpose. The auditors were tasked, to first interrogate the basis of these claims that were submitted to them, establish whether they are supported by contracts, proper approvals, evidence of work done, and compliance with the public financial management framework. Secondly, the auditors were tasked to distinguish legitimate obligations from irregular or unsupported claims. This is because the state must honor its lawful debts, but the state must not and will not pay what it cannot justify. Thirdly, we are hoping that out of this, the exercise will be used to strengthen the systems that we have in operations now. This exercise must lead to better controls, better record keeping, better commitment management, and stricter adherence to the law at every stage of public expenditure. The audit itself points to some recurring issues. 1, claims not supported by documentation. 2, payments already made but still presented as outstandings and duplicate entries. And 3, instances of non-performance by contractors. These are not mere technical lapses. They point to a clear breakdown in oversights and accountability. And those breakdowns come at a real cost to the taxpayer. Every cedi wrongfully paid or wrongfully claimed is a cedi diverted from schools, hospitals, roads, and livelihoods. That is why this committee will conduct these hearings with firmness, but also with fairness. Every institution and individual appearing before us will be given a full opportunity to explain their position. We will be guided by evidence, not assumption, by law, not sentiments. At the end of this process, our objective is not simply to produce a report. Our objective is to restore confidence. Confidence that the public finances are managed with integrity. Confidence that obligations are honored on lawful basis. Confidence that the systems of our public financial management are strong enough to prevent a recurrence of these issues. Let me conclude with this. Accountability is not an event, it is a culture. These hearings are part of building that culture. We will proceed with diligence, we will proceed with objectivity, and we will proceed with the national interest as our sole guide. Thank you very much. So on this note, this report is a report that pertains to when the chairperson was in government. And so for today's proceedings, I will cede the chairperson to the ranking member to do that. This is what we've been doing since we began this particular public account sitting of the 9th Parliament. These are some of the things we do to strengthen institutions and also to promote transparency and accountability. So, Ranking, I hand over to you, and I know you do a good job, just like you've been doing throughout our sittings since we began in this 9th Parliament. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We were supposed to have started this sitting last week. And what happened was last Wednesday, we couldn't. The majority side couldn't come in. And the reason we couldn't come in was in Parliament here, we use the parliamentary system. And we have to listen to our whips. There were 3 committees sitting on that day, and that would have meant 40 members of the majority not being in the chamber. And when there's been repeated calls for quorum, we couldn't come and had to stay in the chamber. So it wasn't anything deliberate. Now for a reporter to say that we didn't come in because we were running away from our obligations, that is very unfortunate. And if you've ever reported from Parliament before, you will understand that there's a whip system and you need to have a quorum. And I will leave it at that. Honourable Minister, I hear you have a statement, and I will take your statement, please.
Thank you.
Honourable Minister, just a minute, please. We'll have to swear you in before you make the statement. But for the meantime, members of the committee will introduce ourselves, please.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. My name is Godfred Seidu Jesao. I'm MP for Y East and a member of the committee. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Desmond de Graft Peitu, a member of Parliament for Gomoy East and a member of this committee.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Sebastian De. I represent the people of Kpando in Parliament, and I'm a member of this committee.
Good morning. My name is Agric Edem Agbana, Member of Parliament for Ketu North, a member of the committee.
Hey, Avra. You are rejecting me on this occasion. My name is Samsnahi, MP for Bodi, who have been summoned by Ambulance Committee to respond to some questions. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John Dumelo, MP Iowa West Wagon, and I've also been summoned. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Nana Oseji, a member of the committee, and I represent the good people of New Japan North in the Eastern region.
What about the back?
Good morning, Chair. My name is Duke William Allen Kwame Amwakwata Oforiata, Member of Parliament, Fantiakwa South. District capital is Osino, and I'm a member of this committee.
Good morning. My name is Frank Yabua, MP for Achuma Nwabiaja North in the Ashanti region, and a member of the committee. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Geoffrey Kinney is my name. I represent the people of Nkwanta South and a member of the committee. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Akwesi Kunedu, Member of Parliament, Ministerial North Constituency, and a member of the committee.
Good morning, Chair. Ernest Yao Enim, Member of Parliament, Kumau, and a member of this committee.
Thank you. My name is Kwame Jijalgakwe, representing the good people of Qatar and the deputy ranking for the committee. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Samuel Atamils, MP for Commander Edna Eguafo Abrim, ranking of Public Accounts Committee, but I'm the chairperson now.
My name is Abno Sayasare, Member of Parliament for Etiwa East, and the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee, and a former. I used to be there. I used to sit with them, and those two there are my bosses. So you are welcome.
Okay, Clerk, I think at this time you will let the minister and his people take the oath. I'm sorry, I missed out the auditors. Auditors, could you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, Chair. My name is Michael Addo, Assistant Auditor General, Audit Service.
Good morning. I'm Lawrence Ayagiba, Deputy Auditor General in charge of special audits.
Honorable Chair, my name is Samuel Ni Ayi Okai, partner, EY.
Okay, now let's go ahead with the oath. Honorable Minister, could you and your members introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my name is Thomas Ampem, and I'm the Deputy Minister for Finance.
I am Patrick Nomo. I'm the Chief Director at the Ministry of Finance.
Good morning. My name is Ibrahim Abdurrahman with the Budget Office, Ministry of Finance.
My name is Siva Ment. I'm the former Chief Director of the Ministry of Finance.
My name is Kwesi Oje, the Controller Accountant General.
My name is Gilbert Nyala Jibo, Deputy Controller and Accountant General, in charge of Treasuries.
My name is Amelie Nuno Amatefiu, Director Legal, Ministry of Finance.
Okay, now, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman and honorable members. We are happy to be here to assist in this process. A good part of the statement I wanted to make have been made by the chairman, the chairperson of the committee, so I wouldn't want to belabor the point, except to give assurance that the Ministry of Finance is excited about this process and we are committed. Our expectation is that we will come out with findings and recommendations that will help all of us to improve on the management of our public financial system. And so that is our driving motivation. Dr. Atoforsen commissioned this audit to be sure of what he was going to use public funds to pay. And so subsequent to the validation, we have started in earnest in paying those that have been duly validated. In fact, the audit process gave opportunity to all those transactions that were rejected and those that were pending for publication. In fact, they were published, and individuals, companies were given the opportunity to question the decision of the auditors. And so this has been done prudently, and we believe that at the end of this exercise, as a country, we'll all see the need to improve on areas that need improvement. I just want to give one example to show the importance of the audit to us as a nation. On the 10th of March, I came to Parliament to present the findings of the audit and the subsequent referral to this committee. And exactly a week after, on the 17th of March, one of the companies that were identified to be associated with some of the infractions has responded. Rams Logistics was the company that was stated to have been overpaid for the transportation of grains. Exactly a week after the presentation, the company has gone ahead to refund 19.1 million cedis to the state. And if you look at the audit revelations, it is not just the 19.1 million cedis that was cited. It was also stated that the company was paid with rice in excess of 7 tons. So we are expecting the value of 7 tons to be also 7,000 tons, metric tons of rice. We are expecting that as well. The Attorney General is working with his team to recommend the right course of action for all these infractions that have been identified. So this is to show that the audit was necessary, the audit was intended, and is beginning to achieve its purpose of saving and protecting public funds. Thank you.
Okay. Today we are starting with the Ministry of Finance. And the first, Honorable Akwesi Kwenedo will start from page 3 to 12.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ranking. Minister, welcome.
Thank you, Honorable.
Minister, I think we are called upon here to attend to this special audit report in front of us. And you just made a statement about one of the companies who have refunded an amount of 19.1 million. But in this report that we do have, I don't think we find this report that you are giving to us in this. The transportation of the grains and the, is it in this report that we are dealing with?
Yes, it is in the report. And if you give us time, we can open the page for you. And it is also in the statement that I presented to the Parliament. The only thing is that it is not for Ministry of Finance. So if you are looking for it under Ministry of Finance, we won't find it, but it is in the report. Thank you.
I am not looking for it under the Ministry of Finance. Yes, it is in your report that you brought to Parliament, but I don't think your report was referred to the committee first and foremost. And in this report, it ought to find space under the Ministry of Agric. I think we walked through the report with the auditors, and this particular infraction admittedly was not in this report. The auditors are here, and if I'm wrong, they may confirm to us and show us. So at least we may probably be able to deal with that. Because we are not looking at your report that you brought. That is not in contention here or reference to us at this committee. Ours is the Auditor General's report that we do have here. So if you can point to us.
Okay, I think the auditors will be the right persons to respond to this because it is their work. So they should tell us details about that transaction.
Auditors, Madam Chair.
And before they come in, As I said, my statement, initial statement, was to emphasize the overall importance of the exercise. I'm sure when you come to the respective ministries, you will see those ones and deal with them. But because I have mentioned it and you have also questioned, we may have to let the auditors respond.
Before the auditors come in, Minister, we don't want to place this on record. It is good that anybody who had been overpaid has refounded. I mean, it is a joyous occasion for all of us. But the most important thing is this. Once a committee is referenced with a document, we must first and foremost have to deal with that. Because if anybody is listening to us, and we move on to this document, and it's a public document now, and that is reference to us, and if you don't find it in, I'm sure probably you are talking about the report that you read. So I'll be glad, the auditors, I think we met prior to this sitting, and this matter came up. So if you can confirm to us, because we all agreed that that particular infraction was not in it.
Honorable, thank you very much. Honorable Chair, what happened was, I had explained to the chair when we met that it was inadvertently omitted when they were printing the reports, but we made it available to them. Yeah, through the speaker, I think so.
So the auditors can confirm to us that it is not in the report. It was omitted from the report. A major infraction like that was omitted from the report, but only made available to the minister initially. To be included in his report that he brought to Parliament. As auditors.
You see, so, honorable member, you see what happened was we had given the printers 3 documents. One from EY, one from PwC, and one from the audit service, which was supposed to be on top of everything. When they were printing, they left out the one from audit service and printed only the 2 and submitted it. It was when we were here, we came for the hearing, that we saw that it was omitted. So I explained everything to the chair, and we subsequently submitted what was omitted through the speaker.
Okay, so you would furnish us with that part of the report that was omitted?
Please, we've since done that.
You did that through the speaker?
Yes, please.
Okay. He won't.
Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity. I don't know if you are aware that there was a supplementary submission of the report, and then I see speakers minuting. Yeah. Chair, Park, for your action, and it's available to us. If you have that report, please come with me to page 18 of that report. It actually emphasizes that the report was submitted and referred to us. And the Deputy Minister is not out of context. That report he has spoken to is referred to us. The issue about runs and overpayment of transportation, 7,000 metric tons of rice, is in there on page 18. So maybe if you apprise yourself fully with it, you see that the content is actually there, and we have to deal with it. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Ranking, you see, around this table, Honorable Jesau is the only person having a copy of this document. The ranking himself doesn't even have a copy. Ranking, I mean, it's important we establish this fact, because around this table, I do not have a copy of this report to speak to. And I don't know if you do have a copy of the report, Ranking.
So the clerk just confirmed that we have this report. As to why you don't have it, I don't know.
And they are now distributed, so you can't say all of us do have. Earlier when?
The software has been shared on the platform several days back, and I got it from the platform and printed. Maybe I was just very diligent. Thank you.
Okay, now, clerk, Do we have copies of that report? Speak into the microphone, please.
Yes, we have copies, sir.
Okay, so make sure that any member who doesn't have a copy has a copy.
Well noted.
So,
thank you.
So now, officially, we have a copy. Okay, so let's move on.
Thank you, Chairman.
1 minute. Just a word of advice. Minister, next time, respectfully, I would want you to check some of these things because they are very, very important. We had to point it out to the auditors that what they were speaking to was missing in the reports. So in as much as we want to do the right thing, we should be also, very diligent in what we do. Because if the committee hadn't met the auditors prior to this sitting, we would have missed this important thing. We drew their attention to the fact that what they are speaking to is not in the report. We all want the best for our nation. But in as much as we want the best for our nation, we also have to be diligent in the work that we do and always speak to the facts as is given to us. So I think we should move on this and see how best we can all do to salvage the situation and also make sure these occurrences does not take place again should there be a change in government, and we have to validate stock of arrears available to us.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I'm happy it is confirmed that you have received that report. Honestly, the reports are in volumes, and so the subsequent ones, as you said, you realize that was not in the report that was laid. You drew their attention, they have channeled it through Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker has referred it to you accordingly. And so we are happy you have it. And the bottom line is that there is that infraction, and we are all willing to see to the bottom of it. Thank you.
Yes. It's important that we also allow diligence to take place whenever we are doing something right, because this also boils down to the integrity of the state, integrity of reports. And so, Honorable Deputy Minister, that is all we are saying. What we are saying is that through the diligence of this committee, we realized that that particular report was missing in the reports of Volume 1 and Volume 2 that was submitted to Parliament, and we drew their attention. We don't want to go back and forth over this. All we are saying is that in as much as we want to do the right thing, let's also equally attach some diligence to whatever we do so that some of these things may not occur in the future, because it may also have repercussions. Had we not pointed it out to them and then we come in here to read something that had not been submitted to Parliament, we all know the implications. So that's all we are saying. We are all here to fight and make sure the right thing is done. And whatever is due the state gets it. And whatever obligations that the state also has to deliver on, the state also does it. So that's why we are here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with you, except to say that it is the diligence that has brought us here. It is our diligence that has led to the uncovering of these things. So if the diligence you are talking about were there, we wouldn't have had all these problems we are talking about. So yes, we agree that everybody must be diligent. The issue is clear. There are volumes. This one was omitted. It was detected. It has been submitted. So we agree on diligence. Let us all work to be diligent. Thank you.
All right, Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. But I said, this is not the first time this report has been done. This is not the first time such a report has been presented to the House. So let's move on. We've ended it. I think we should move on. This is the second, within a short space of time. So the real problem is the system, and that is what we have to address, not the back and forth, respectfully. This is not the first time. Like I told you, previously, under the NDC, the same exercise was done. 5.3 billion was rejected, and 6.3 billion went through. So let's go ahead and sit and see how best we can salvage the situation that we have. And like we all agree, come out with recommendations that moving forward will help us not to find ourselves in this situation again, should there be a change of government. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you see, we want to move forward. But when we keep making reference, the same thing happened. I mean, you are introducing what we don't want into these discussions. We have a problem at hand. We have specific infractions we are talking about. So let's deal with them. Thank you.
Honorable Akwesi Kwenedo. Yeah, move on, please.
Minister, thank you very much, Chairman. Minister, can it be confirmed?
Excuse me, please, before I continue. This is not a political thing. Let's move on.
Yes, I think so.
This issue happened 2024, and the auditors have gone to do the audit. If there was a part of it missing, we have it now. Let's move on. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ranking. Minister, can it be confirmed to the committee that an amount of 4.3 billion was presented for validation by the Ministry of Finance?
Please, I'll let the Chief Director take the responses from now.
Yes, 4.3 billion was presented by Ministry of Finance.
Thank you. Can you please walk us through the processes that will lead to a bank transfer advice being issued? I ask this as a preliminary question to some of the reasons that the auditors cited in it, that some BTAs, bank transfer advice, were rejected. So if you can walk the committee and Ghanaians through the generation of a bank transfer advice.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, if you may permit me, before I answer that direct question, may I set some clarification on the process for the audit validation? I think it will help all of us to understand some of the answers that we'll provide subsequently. In most of the transactions, especially those that will be responding to from Ministry of Finance, you see transactions that are denominated in foreign exchange. Ministry of Finance serves as a central management agency in its role as a macro-fiscal organization for government. And then it also serves as an MDA on its own. So in one respect, it is just like any other ministry, department, or agency. And then in another respect, for transactions that are central in nature, that may relate to other ministries, because of the nature of the transaction, they could be brought through Ministry of Finance to address it. So Ministry of Finance serves both as a central management agency for financial management and then also as an MDA on its own. When it comes to foreign exchange denominated transactions, during the course in preparing for the validation, transactions would have been undertaken at various entities, various ministry departments and agencies. These transactions, where they have been denominated in foreign currency, will be recorded at the date of the contract. It will have a rate at the date of the contract. Then whenever payment is made, payment will be done at a certain date, the transaction date, and then at the time that we are compiling for validation, exchange rates will be agreed and used at that date. So in some of the transactions, you see the auditors refer to a value that does not agree with the records or that does not agree with the balance as at the time that they did the validation. We would explain some of the specifics, and it is good you are starting with Ministry of Finance, so that will guide other ministries. There's also the issue about timing of the report. Just as I've explained on the foreign exchange, whenever there's a transaction that has been recorded in the books and no payment, no transaction has occurred on it, the original contract amount will be recorded in the books. But at the 31st December, there will be an exchange rate on that date. And then when the audit was commissioned, in order to compile something for the Auditor General, you can't be using different exchange rates for different contracts. So it was agreed and an exchange rate of, I think, 15.25 was used to compile all of them. So when you go back to the contract, or you call a contractor and ask him, what is the value of your contract? He may mention a figure that may be different from what the auditors or what was given to the auditors as a result of the compilation. I just want us to take note of this because it will recur in some of the answers that we'll provide subsequently. Then, before I come to the specific question that was asked, the data compilation process for the audit involved asking ministry departments and agencies to submit data to the Ministry of Finance. So various ministries will submit data to the Ministry of Finance. Some of them, even for transactions that are denominated in foreign currency, will submit the city value because that is what is on their books. And then when Ministry of Finance compiles this, a unit in Ministry of Finance, which is the budget division, would also use a particular rate that has been agreed. Beyond the MDAs and the budget division, there are other transactions within Ministry of Finance that came as a result of Ministry of Finance being a central management agency. This will come from our debt management division, it will come from our legal division, it will come from our external resource management division, it will come from our accounts division. These are compiled and then put together and submitted to the Auditor General. So the possibility that there will be inherent exchange rate differences is high. In conclusion, much as we believe that the audit has been very useful and have unearthed weakness, systemic weaknesses, I think we must look at each specific transaction in its context and address it appropriately. Mr. Chairman, with your kind permission, I'll come directly to the question about how we get BTAs. When a transaction occurs, it is originated from a ministry, department, or agency. It goes through approval, procurement, etc. And then, depending on the nature of the transaction, whether it's goods and services, or compensation of employee salaries, or capital expenditure, it will come to Ministry of Finance for a release. When Ministry of Finance makes a release, it will go back to the ministry for them to process it again. And then it comes back on the gift miss, depending on the nature. As I said, some goods and services, they don't come back to the Ministry of Finance. Salaries are paid directly to Controller Accountant General. But capital expenditure comes back to Ministry of Finance, and then they are processed. When final approval is given by the appropriate spending officer, that transaction goes to the Controller and Accountant General as an approved invoice. Approved invoice. Controller Accountant General will then determine whether it has money to pay all the invoices or not, which is usually not the case. Usually, he will not have money to pay all the invoices. So, Controller Accountant General runs a process that generates what we call the bank transfer advice. So, the bank transfer advice are the transactions that, in the estimation of the Controller Accountant General, would get funding, would get cash to pay. And even that, it doesn't mean he has cash to pay all of them, but those that have been prioritized have been compiled for payment. And then as and when cash becomes available or balances become available at the bank, then Controller Accountant General sends instructions to the bank to pay. When the transaction is sent to the central bank, once again, depending on the nature of the transaction, the money will be transferred to the respective MDA. And then the MDA will now effect the payment. So at the time of the final payment, the MDA has an opportunity to say whether this payment truly, we should let it go, or it should stay, or whatever. So the final payment of a BTA is authorized by the head, or if you like, the spending officer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director. Director, we will come to the exchange rate matter. But I asked the specific question on BTA. It means that before a BTA can be generated, all necessary documentations must be attached to it. And here the auditors rejected some BTAs, bank transfer advice, as not validated for payment. And that is why I asked the question. So for you to be able to do this process to the point of BTA and could not support these BTAs to the auditors for them to validate and therefore rejected these. That is the point I would want you to address. So where were those documentation attached to the specific BTAs? Because if you look at page 3 of the report, there is an amount of 7.4 million BTAs that were rejected by the Auditor General. So where were those documentations attached to these BTAs that could not be supported with the auditors for validation for it to be rejected?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. When it comes to this specific audit and the issues around BTAs, and here I'm not talking for any other ministry, I'm talking for Ministry of Finance as an MDA, because the question you asked related to just Ministry of Finance as an MDA. When it comes to the BTAs for Ministry of Finance, the auditors sought to get confirmation from the people that are owed as to whether they are owed that amount or not. In some cases, they couldn't reach the third parties, and they have to submit their report. So they will submit it as BTAs that they have not, that they have rejected. When we get to the specifics, I would respond to them specifically. But another instance where you have BTAs rejected is where an exchange rate has been used. That is different from what the contractor knows. And when you call out a figure to him, the contractor does not know that he has this BTA. Thirdly, I spoke about the timing. I think I didn't mention the one specific instance. The audit was conducted after March, if I recollect correctly. The audit was commissioned, I think, somewhere in March, after February. The audit was commissioned after February. Payments were made between January and February. Payments were made between February and January. So if a contractor had been paid in January or February, and you call him in June, when he has heard on the radio that an audit is being conducted, whether he's owed or not, on radio, I mean, you call him on phone, his immediate answer will be that, no, government does not owe me, as at that time. What you should ask him is, as at 31st December 2024, are you owed or not? I'm talking here not generally, but specifically in relation to the Ministry of Finance situation.
Mr. Chairman, I think to help Chief Director answer the questions correctly, it will be helpful we point to specific transactions, because he seems to be giving generic possibilities in his response. So if you can ask with specific transactions, then he can let you know with this specific one what actually happened.
Minister, I asked the specific question, and the minister, the chief director, went to want to explain the broader so that it will sit in context. Even with the explanation he's giving, if this explanation had been given to the auditors, I believe almost half or 2/3 of this report will not be here. That is why I said I will come to the point of the exchange rate transactions. If the auditors go to the suppliers for confirmation, and he is going with the current exchange rate at that day, do the auditors get back to the ministry when they go for these suppliers confirmation? Chief Director, did the auditors get back to you when they went for these suppliers confirmation?
Yes, the auditors got back to us several times, and the main complaint was that they were not getting responses from the suppliers and contractors. I remember in one meeting, we were made to understand that some of these contracted owe people so much that when they get calls from unknown numbers, they don't answer them.
Chief Director, so when they get back to them, do they, or do you inquire from them the amount that they sent to them and the basis of the exchange rate that they used, and your explanation of the bank transaction advice as at that day that you issued and the exchange rate variation? Because if you do, and if the auditors also did that, I'm sure that explanation would have been given, and it would have taken these exchange rate matters out of it. I was actually not even going on the exchange rate matter when you came, Because I understand exchange rate transactions as and when payments are made. That is the exchange rate that would apply. So I was not even going there up until we came. But if these found themselves in the infractions that the auditors have brought, then that becomes an issue for the everyday Ghanaian to be talking about. But should the auditors have gone for the supplier's confirmation with an exchange rate of DS, but not what was pertaining at the time that you raised the BTAs, and you gave these explanations, I'm sure probably all of these things will not have found. Auditors, the chief director says you went to the suppliers confirming from them with an exchange rate of yours. And that has brought us to where some of these infractions are.
If I may clarify before the auditors come in, I said in compiling the outstandings that we gave to the auditors didn't use their own exchange rate. We compiled with one standard dollar to CD exchange rate and gave it to them to confirm.
I'm sorry. These were transactions that happened before December 2024. I'm sorry? To 31st December 2024. Those transactions had specific, what do you call it, exchange rate on them. So there wouldn't be any different exchange rate. Now, let me ask a question before the auditors come in. The 7.4 of the BTA that was rejected, has anybody come back to give you subsequent information that would make you change this amount? Because you couldn't get responses from some of the contractors.
Contract, do you want to respond to the one that was not found in GIFMIS? Our straightforward answer will be yes. Our straightforward answer will be yes. Yes.
Auditors, you were supposed to come in.
With respect to confirmations that we made of contractors and suppliers, we stated clearly in the letter that we sent to them that they should confirm balances outstanding as at 31st December 2024. And Honorable Chair, we did not state any amount owed them. We asked them to confirm what was owed them. Yeah.
But auditors, I find this very revealing. And I think, like Akwesi said, 2/3 of what is contained in this report would not have been there if we had clarity from the start. But I want to find out from you, I'm not an auditor, but I know that in standard audit practices, if you get this information, like you wrote to the contractors, private entities, to inquire from them how much is owed them and all of that, were you not required to go back to the ministries for confirmation or otherwise? Were you not required to go back to the ministries for confirmation?
Honorable, we did, because once we received a confirmation and the amount differed, we had to go back to the ministry, to provide us with further information on what the supplier had confirmed. Indeed, we asked the suppliers as well to supply us with information to back the amount they claim is owed them, which, they did. And then we got back to the ministries, and for some of the reasons that they offered, it meant that sometimes payment may have been made to them that they are not aware. And these reasons, we stated it in our report. We had closing meetings. Aside engaging the MDAs, we held closing meetings, and as the Honorable Deputy Minister indicated, opportunities were also given to the suppliers, to get back to us on the amounts rejected and those that were pending confirmation. So yes, we did engage them.
So auditors, it therefore means that any payment that were made after the cutoff period of 31st December 2024 will not have a reflection in it, reducing the amount that the supplier would have to bring to you to incur these errors. Because you are talking about the cutoff of 31st December 2024. But in the responses of the Chief Director, he gave an impression to us, and if I'm wrong, you may correct me, that some payments that were made in February would have been deducted by the suppliers, and therefore the amount that they would raise to the auditors would therefore be less of that amount, which the auditors would have sent to them to confirm. But the auditors are telling us they never put any figure in it, but they asked them for the closing balances as at 31st December. So that disparity ought not to happen. Chief Director.
The auditors adopted, a methodology that works for a large-scale audit like this. So sometimes it's difficult to interrogate them on the basis of the specifics of why didn't you do it this way or why didn't you do it this way. When you call me, if my payment had been made in January, I said the government of Ghana doesn't owe me. If you ask me, how much did they owe you as of December 31st? I said, okay, hold on a minute. Let me check from my accountant. Let me check what the figure was at that time. Depending on where the person was at the time you call, we are not in the middle of the audit, so it's difficult to, but whilst they were doing the audit and they were struggling with information, they will adopt an approach that enables them to do the work they have been asked to do.
Mr. Chairman, you know, when the finance minister assumed office as Minister for Finance, he gave directives that all payments should be suspended. No payment should be made until the auditors have validated them. So from that time, no single payment was made. Obviously, the finance minister came to the office sometime in February. It is possible that from 1st January to the time of that instruction, there may be some payments that went through. What we need to find out, if anybody talks about these things, we need to verify if those payments were made between 1st January and maybe the end of January. Otherwise, if the payment had already been...
Minister, I know that at the Ministry of Finance, without the minister or deputy minister's approval, nothing goes through.
That is why I will be surprised.
So you can talk about 1st to 7th.
That is why I will be surprised that any of these transactions in question, somebody will say that, oh, they were paid before the audit started. But it is possible that some payments, because there were some BTAs at controller, those BTAs had already been given approval by all approving authorities, and it was only waiting for funds to be paid. So it is possible that some transactions could have gone through. But we need to be sure. That is why I will want us to not give generic responses, but look at transaction by transaction. So this particular BTA that was rejected, why was it rejected? Is it that it had been paid already? If it had been paid, when was it paid? Was it paid before December 31st? If it was paid before December 31st, why did we have another BTA pending there? If it was paid after December 31st, when was it paid? Was it before the instruction of the finance minister or after? So we will have to get all these pieces of information to be able to give, to be able to conclude on any single transaction. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you very much. If we move to page 7, there is an amount of 2.4 million that was paid for the renovation works at the Ministry of Finance, Red Cool Flats. And the ministry says this amount was erroneously included in it. And this amount had already been paid according to the auditors. It states that these commitments, which had already been paid, related to. So, Director, in drafting up the schedule, of payables, don't you have any means of determining the amount that had already been paid being deducted from the outstanding amount, rather than send amount that had already been paid, for instance, with the one that the auditors pointed to page 7, to be included in the schedule of payment back to the auditors? Because it says this amount was mistakenly included in it. But however, the amount had already been paid, but it was brought back onto the payment of schedule of payables.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This is one of the few transactions that, as a result of the compilation process, was included in the list of outstanding when it had actually already been paid. So this was an error.
Director, should there have been money to be paid, as I'd say, prior to the end of the audit, and this remained on the schedule of payables, would this amount had been paid in error to the suppliers? Because it was on the payment schedule.
Yeah, no.
And should my brother Ampim had money to pay, and you gave him this global sum would have also been paid in error, right?
No, Honorable Chair. This wouldn't have been paid in error. Let me explain. I explained earlier on the process of generating the transactions or the schedule that was given to the auditors. That we asked MDA to submit claims. Our budget office compiled it, asked officers within divisions within the ministry to bring information. If this had been processed again onto the gift meets and pending, then you say that there's a risk that it will be paid again. But this was one of the things that an invoice that the schedule officer didn't know had already been paid and added it. So there's no way this would have been paid twice. This particular one would have been paid twice. Let me add that when the auditors complete their work, let's assume they didn't pick this up as having been paid already and submitted it. It doesn't mean that this payment will be made. There's a validation process that goes on before payments are made, including picking files, checking on the gift meets, and so on and so forth.
Please. Chief Director, you are the current Chief Director, and the former Chief Director is here. Were you the former Chief Director at Finance?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So did this happen under your watch?
The compilation.
No, the questions that we are asking, was it under your watch?
Yes, please.
So who should be answering? The current one or the former one?
Unfortunately, I don't have access to full information, and so it will be difficult for me to provide very detailed responses to some of the questions.
So who was there?
In February, I was.
February, you were?
Yes, sir.
But up to 2024 December, who was there?
I was there. I was at the Ministry of Finance.
As a Chief Director?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So I think you may be the one that may be asking, answering these questions, right?
As I said, Mr. Chair, I haven't been there since April last year, and so I don't have detailed information as to what transpired.
Okay. I could say continue, please.
Mr. Chairman, the team that prepared to come and give responses are the current Chief Director and the others, so that is why. But if there are some specific responses that she can fill in, I think she'll be able to do that. But respectfully, we will allow the current Chief Director and others to respond. Thank you.
All right. Let's continue.
Thank you, Rankin. Chief Director, these errors that the schedule officer made are some of the reasons why we are here. And we say this amount will not have been paid again because it would have been processed back onto the gift mix. Chief Director, doesn't it surprise you, therefore, that a schedule officer would not know that these invoices have been paid, but will still have these invoices sitting on his table, included in the payable schedule? That will therefore affect the cash management system that you do have in terms of the amount that you have generated and wanting to pay. Because if the schedule officers will continuously be making these mistakes and would have to call for the external auditors to come, what therefore is the role of the internal auditors that we do have? And should these figures not have included in this one, wouldn't the country be at peace with some of these errors that these schedule officers and civil servants have made?
Oh, okay. I was waiting for signals to, protocols. Yeah, Honorable Chair, we have identified a couple of weaknesses, in our system. I think when the Honorable Chair of the PAC gave her opening remarks, she alluded to the fact that there are weaknesses that we need to address. And I believe going forward, in fact, we are already taking measures to prevent the occurrence of some of these weaknesses. We believe the time has come when we should configure our systems to ensure that you don't need somebody to bring an invoice manually for you to be able to say that this is owing or this is not, owed. And we are already taking steps to ensure that our systems are improved going forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My last one will be on page 16. Page 16, where an amount of, in February 2025, an amount of almost about 150 million was paid. And these were paid in terms of mobilization, 15%, and 2 IPCs that were raised. And I know IPCs are raised on the basis of work done, completed work done. Here we are looking at 17% work done by the auditor's confirmation. But you paid an amount of 39%, way in advance of the IPCs and the actual work done by the contractor, Amandi. He had done a 17% work done, but however, the percentage that we paid was 39%. Chief Director, was this one also paid in error?
Honorable Chair, this was not paid in error. When you do projects, the contracts provide for the way the payments should be made. The payments that were made were in accordance with the terms of the contract. The payment included mobilization and payment of IPCs in line with milestone deliverables as specified in the contract. The assertion by the auditors that the payment exceeded work done is therefore not accurate. As of February 2026, the physical progress of work stands at approximately 72%, while the payment, that's advanced mobilization and IPCs, represent about 57% of the contract sum. This indicates that the payments are commensurate and, in fact, lag behind the level of work completed rather than exceeding it.
It should have been my last question, but you said the auditors, the figures by the auditors are wrong. Auditors, it says their figure is right and yours is wrong. The actual work done is what they paid.
Sorry, before the auditors come in again, Honorable, I didn't say what they paid was the actual work done. If you listen to me carefully, I said the payments were in line with the contract, and that the contract was based on payment of advanced mobilization and milestone deliverables. And that was what was done. The other aspect of your question related to whether the work done was commensurate with the payment. And on that, I said that is not accurate because as of February, because we have not done an assessment as of December, as of February, I mean, when the audit was commissioned, the actual work done was more than the IPC and milestone payments that have been done. I don't know if you get the difference. What the
Chief Director, I do, but let me read a portion to you, and then the auditors will come in. A physical verification performed in June 2025, and the payment was in February. So let's bear these two dates. You paid in February, and the auditors went to the ground to physically verify in June. And they said this, revealed that the amount paid to the contractors for the expansion project constituted 39% of the total contract sum. However, level of work done to date, that was in June, of which payment was in February, was 17%. So it therefore cannot be said, unless the auditors made a mistake with their physical verification, that when you were paying in February, the amount you paid was actually for the level of work done. And the auditors went there in February and still had a different figure. So what you are saying and what the auditors have written here are at variance. You paid for 39% in February 2025, and the auditors went there in June, and their physical verification was 17%.
Honorable, I would be glad if the auditors can help us explain the 37% payment. What were the components of that payment? And what were the component of work done as at 31st December 2027? That would be helpful for all of us.
Auditors, can you please help?
Yes, we can do. Thank you very much. So, Honorable Member, as you rightly said, IPCs are raised based on work done. Now, during this audit, when we went to do an evaluation of the work done, it was not as much as the money that was paid. But the issue here was the contract was signed based on milestones that pay us to second floor this amount. When we get there, you pay us this to fourth floor. It was on milestones without looking at the components of the work. So when you use the bill of quantity to extract, you see that they paid more than work that was supposed to be done. So the issue here was to bring the issue of the contract that was put, the clause that was put in the contract, that pay based on milestones instead of work done.
But in this particular contract, I think there was some mobilization paid.
Yes, please.
And wouldn't that have made the payment higher than what was completed? Because once you pay mobilization, okay, I'm waiting for your answer.
Yes, there was mobilization. But you see, as I said, they were paid to second floor. That pay us up to second floor. When they were still on the first floor slab. But that was how the contract was carved. It was based on milestones.
But do you see that as an infraction?
Well, it is not a good contract, that clause, because it's risky.
It's risky?
Yes. What it means is that you are pre-financing the contract.
But I want to find out from you, I mean, was there an exit conference between yourself and the Ministry of Finance on these findings?
Yes, we did.
You did?
Yes, but the contract was a contract.
And these matters never came up for discussion?
It came up.
All right.
But we want, that's what I'm saying. You know, Honorable Chair said we want to bring about corrections moving forward.
Yes.
So this is an issue we want to highlight, that this type of contract is risky.
Okay, the next Honorable Cletus will take care of that. I will go from page 13 to 16.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes. Chairman, let me start with page 12. We have contract awarded amounting to 955.76 million Ghana cedis without commencement certificate. Page 12. I would like the Chief Director to tell us why it happened that way. contract, almost $1 billion contract, without commencement certificate. This in respect of renovation of Controller Accountant General Staff bungalows, Ministry of Finance Head Office expansion project, purchase of vehicles, totaling almost $1 billion, without commencement certificates.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, I'm trying to locate the specific question in my document. I'm sorry, give me a minute, let me. Honorable Chair, that number is made up of a number of transactions. One has to do with the renovation of the Controller Accountant General Staff Development Center, and then another had to do with the Ministry of Finance Head Office Expansion Project, and then another has to do with the design, installation, and commissioning of the data center, and then another has to do with the procurement of vehicles. Honorable Minister, when it comes to the projects that are undertaken by Ministry of Finance, as I explained earlier, Ministry of Finance serves as a central management agency and then also as an MDA. So in most cases, when it comes to Ministry of Finance, you will not see the type of commencement certificate that you see for other MDAs. You see a memo approved by the minister, and that is taken as an approval of the minister, I mean, in that respect.
Did you explain this to the auditors?
I can't remember exactly, but I'm sure that is the explanation that would have been given to the auditors. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Auditors, you heard Chief Director's response. I just need some education. I think this issue about commencement certificate is very clear in the PFM Act. Is it that the law is different for Ministry of Finance? How do you handle it? Why is it that Ministry of Finance can write a memo and that suffices, and other ministries cannot do that?
Honorable Chair, in reading the law, we didn't see exceptions in the law for Ministry of Finance.
Honorable Chair, if I may clarify, there are areas in the law that we ourselves have identified for improvement. And in this particular instance, the improvement the minister recommended has actually been approved by Parliament with the amendment of the Public Procurement Act to ensure that all procurement by any government entity gets a commencement authorization specifically from the Minister for Finance before the commencement process, before the procurement process starts. And that is what has resulted in a replacement of this requirement for a commencement certificate with a requirement for a commencement authorization. And that process has actually started. Thank you.
Chief Director, this one we are looking at 2024, where at that time there is no amendment, and then you're supposed to comply by that. Why did you not comply with that?
Honorable, we've complied. We obtained the approval of the minister. except that it was not in a letter going outside the Ministry of Finance.
Thank you. So, Chief Director, thank you. Let's go to page 13. Page 13, we have an amount of 917,931 Ghana cedis. Commitment could not be substantiated. This sum, if you come to the table, you awarded contracts and payments were made with no contract signed. If you go to the table, you notice you have some 4 companies here: Jinson Plus Enterprise, Axinos Company Limited, Awimbihet something Ghana Limited, Dinani Limited. These 4 companies, if you come, you awarded contract, that's in respect of Control Accountant Headquarters and re-roofing of Wa Regional Hospital. You awarded these contracts to various contractors, and no contract was cited. So, and you paid. What did you use to pay? There was no signed contract, and yet payments were made. How did that happen?
Thank you. Mr. Chair, in respect with our Control Accountant General, the contract was not awarded because we couldn't go through the procurement process by 31st December. Thank you.
So how were payment made?
Payment was not effective, but just that as at 31st, we committed the amount that was given us, the warrant was committed and incumbent on the system. But then we initiated the procurement process, and by 31st December, we hadn't gone through the process to award the contract for the renovation to be undertaken and payment effected. So it was ended there, and payment was not effected. Thank you.
So we are talking of commitments here. So you made commitment without a contract.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, what happened was that in 2024, we were given some amount outside our budgetary allocation. So we wrote to the ministry to give us funds to undertake renovation, buy computers and vehicles for the department, which was outside our budget for 2024, which was approved. And we need to commit the whole amount on GIFMIS. It was about 15-point-something million. So as and when contracts were awarded and delivered, then we pay. So it was the same thing that happened to Axinos. Unfortunately, we couldn't complete the process, and that money wasn't paid. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you very much. Controller, the request was for you to submit your liabilities as at the end of 31st December 2024. And once that commitment was not made by then, and these schedules of liabilities or payables were sent after that date, why include this as a liability as at the end of 2024, knowing very well that contract was not awarded, it was a commitment that has expired, and therefore there was no liability, even in commitment or claims or whatever. Why do you include this in your payables?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What happened was that at the end of 31st, the assumption was that we were able to utilize that funds the following year. Because normally the money was given to us, 15.8 was given to us.
Controller, you know that is not done.
No, what I'm saying that
by end of the year, when you are not able to utilize the money, you don't have access to it again.
Yeah, because we don't have access to it. But
Yes.
he was asking why it was included. It wasn't.
So once you don't have access to it and it was outside your budget, it shouldn't. If it was outside, you said it was monies that were given to you.
Yes, it wasn't part of our
outside
approved
your
budget.
approved budget.
Yes.
So that if you did not utilize it, the money is gone.
Yeah. It hasn't been cancelled anyway.
Yes, but at that time, the money was gone. So then he's asking, why did you include it? Because you knew, one, it wasn't part of your budget. It was given to you based on some recommendations from the minister for a specific purpose in 2024. Yes. So that if in 2024 you were not able to utilize the money, you know these monies don't wait. So if you were not able to utilize it, you shouldn't have added it onto the payables for the ensuing year, knowing very well that this is not your budget, this is not your money. It was given to you based on some understanding that you had with the minister. So these are some of the things we want to address, so that moving forward, you don't come with, a huge amount, only for us to realize that these are some of the explanations why it was included. When you know very well that usually when monies are not yours, or even when they are yours and the year elapses, you are the same person who does that. You sweep accounts. You sweep accounts, don't you? You sweep people's accounts. It's happened to us even in our common fund. You sweep accounts at the end of the year when these monies are not utilized.
Madam, let him answer.
Madam, what happened? Yeah, we sweep account. But what happened was that thank you. Madam, what happened was that the figures were given to the standing commitments and the BTAs and claims were given to the auditors by the Ministry of Finance. And I remember when we met them in a meeting, we told them that this particular one, the contract was not awarded because we couldn't get the appropriate approval from PPA. And for that matter, it wasn't something that we undertake. So we didn't pay. So we told them, but the auditor said once it is part of the BTAs and commitments given them, they would not delete them. They were going to maintain them and report on them. But we had a meeting with them, and they agreed that, yes, contract was not awarded, the project was not undertaken, and we didn't pay the contractor.
Madam Chair, but who sent these commitments and all of these payables to the auditors? Who sent them, please? Who sent all of these schedules of payables to the auditors?
They were given to them by Minister of Finance.
And who sent them to the Ministry of Finance?
We sent them to the Minister of Finance.
So why, you see, the point we are raising is this. Auditor, controller, the point is this. You are giving money to spend in 2024. Award contracts. You could not do that. Yes. So you don't owe anybody as at the end of that 2024 in respect of that, right?
Yes.
So why then do you carry yourself again with that amount to the Ministry of Finance for them to also forward and keep that as part of the liabilities that they owe? That is the simple answer.
Yes.
You did not commit yourself.
No.
So why express that commitment of a liability to them? That is all that I'm asking.
I think, Mr. Chair, these figures were given, it's possible that it's given to them by the procurement unit, but it's not something that was part of the BTA given to them. And we explained to them that we haven't awarded the contract, the project was not been undertaken, and payment will not be effected. We explained to them. Pardon?
Chairman, let's call a spade a spade. I think Controller and the Minister of Finance, you are whipping people to comply with the law, but you yourself are not complying with the law. And that's what is showing here. I must be truthful to you. You are not complying with the law. So accept it and then rectify it.
Thank you, Chair. What I was saying is that since the project was not undertaken, you shouldn't even have sent it to the Ministry of Finance as payables or commitments.
Mr. Chair, I think, as I said, it could be an error because when we look at it, it wasn't a BTA.
So admit that it was an error, and then we'll move on.
And then it was, thank you.
Just admit that it was an error, then we'll move on.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were done.
No, I'm not done. My last one is on, that's page 13. No, sorry, 15, page 15. We have what we call no evidence of maintenance of aging, analysis of arrears and commitment. Ministry of Finance, may we know why you don't have a register like that, aging analysis may we know why you don't have aging analysis? How do you reconcile your invoices and all of that? Let's know. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, Honorable, we'll take that as one of the recommendations that we have taken on board going forward. When it comes to the aging analysis, it helps to run a cash management framework that helps you know all the payables and to schedule them and to match them against your market operations and then financing. It's one area that we are looking to improve. You can't do that manually. The GIFMIS doesn't give us the capability to do that currently. We've not implemented that model of the GIFMIS yet, but we have taken steps to start and to operationalize a cash management framework within GIFMIS. Thank you.
You don't have money, Minister of Finance.
We have money. We have money.
Chief, you are telling the whole world you have money, so all the contractors and all the payments you have to pay. Those validated, of course.
Minister of Finance. Oh.
Chief Director, in the absence of your aging analysis, what criteria do you use for payments? In the absence of the aging analysis, because there's risk in there. So what criteria do you use?
Okay. If I can take it from 2025, in 2025, we started implementing the commitment authorization regime. And what we aim to do is that before we give the commitment authorization, we ensure that there's a budget, either under the GOG, or if it's an IGF institution or funded activity, or if it is a state-owned enterprise, we investigate and ensure that there's adequate provision to be able to pay for that item when it is delivered, or for that procurement activity when it is delivered. The challenge we have had in the past is that we didn't have these systems operational on the GIFMIS, so that you are hit from everywhere with claims that you have to deal with. So now, from 2025, we are ensuring that anything we give commitment authorization for, by the end of the year, we find money to pay for it. And last year is an example. We tried hard to ensure that the 2025 items are paid for. Our challenge now is the arrears that we are dealing with. And that we have said we'll program them over a period and clear them. We are hoping that by the end of next year, we would have started, that's 2027, we would have started implementing a new GIFMIS framework that enables us to have an effective accounts payable and cash management system, and therefore be able to do our aging analysis and ensure that payments are scheduled as soon as invoices are submitted. Currently, you will notice that, as you rightly observed, when you call a minister or a chief director and say, when will my payment be made? He can't tell you for certainty, even if the invoice has been approved. But going forward, under a cash management system, as soon as the invoice is approved, it will be scheduled. That's okay, looking at the framework, this one will be paid in 3 months, this one will be paid in 2 months, this one will be paid at this time, and that will help. So currently, we are using the commitment authorization system to give us an assurance of availability of funds so that there will be no delay in payments. But we have to grapple with the arrears that we are validating.
Thank you very much, Chief. Respectfully, you said that you're waiting to improve on the GIFMIS to enable you conduct the aging analysis and the maintenance of commitments and arrears. But you can still do a manual one so that you can double check with the GIFMIS. So whilst you are waiting to have it done, we want to reduce some of these infractions because it comes at a cost. And so maybe you should also look at getting some manual work done in this area so that this can, you can have something to compare it to be very sure of whether your aging analysis and your maintenance of commitments is being done right. Yeah, so I think this is just an advice.
Very well taken.
Yes. But I know that the work at Ministry of Finance is not easy because, like you said, you manage things centrally before you also have an MDA. You yourself, Ministry of Finance, you are an MDA that you also have to discharge your mandates just like all the other individual MDAs too. But maybe you will have to. It's like we said when we were there, that you are the midwives. You will have to go the extra mile to make sure certain things are done and done right. And because you also control the purse, sometimes you can use the carrot and stick approach to make sure the MDAs do what is expected of them, so that some of these infractions will reduce the barest minimum. But I think we've heard you, and we will make our recommendations as such. Thank you.
Okay, Minister of Finance, we've come to the end.
Mr. Chairman, before you dismiss us, I want to thank the committee for a good job and to assure all of you that already at the Ministry of Finance, we have started learning from some of these mistakes and improving upon them. It is not the case that the Ministry of Finance does not follow the laws that we expect other MDAs to follow. Currently, the Finance Minister has said because we are an MDA and also as a central management body, as explained by the Chief Director, he has put me in charge of Ministry of Finance as an MDA. And so all these requests for commitment authorizations, commencement certificate, and all that come from Ministry of Finance, I have to apply to the Minister for Finance as a central manager of the economy, so that these instances where a memo is regarded as authorization by the minister is eliminated. So I then apply to the minister from the Ministry of Finance, and then he will subject the Ministry of Finance as an MDA to the same processes that we subject other MDAs to. So that is what is happening currently. And we believe that at the end of this process, we'll have other recommendations that will help us even do better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that reassuring statement. We are done with you, so you are discharged.
Mr. Chairman, are you discharging us and our agencies, controller and everybody?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Now we call on Minister of Trade, Agribusiness, and Industry. Honorable Minister, could you leave one of your reps over here?
Yeah, because all the MDAs have really.
Thank you.
I, Noah Tumfo,
do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
Do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence I shall give before this court.
Touching the matter in issue.
Touching the matter in issue.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Honorable Minister, could you and your delegation introduce yourself?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Honorable Samson, Deputy Minister for Trade,
Agribusiness and Industry, an MP for Bodi.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. My name is Noah Tumfu, Chief Director, Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Stephen Eko-Graves, Director of Finance, Ministry of Trade and Industry.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Nemo, former Chief Director of the Ministry of Trade and Industry.
Good morning. My name is Kofi Addo. I am Director for Industry and formerly also heading the 1D, 1F.
My name is Kwadwo Dubofo, Deputy Director, Ministry of Trade.
Joyce Boatima Ikwamwa, Director for Procurement, Ministry of Trade and Industry.
Honorable NSC, our name will handle those, your ministry.
Minister, welcome. So we are considering the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. From the special report, a total summary of arrears, payables, and commitments that were submitted by the Ministry of Finance was in the tune of 116,875,956. Out of this total amount, only 25 million was validated by the auditors, and a total rejection of 91,837,457. Minister, would you want to apprise the committee of why this huge rejection before I go into the details? Would you want to say something, or you would want me to run through the details with you? Okay. So the first has to do with total variance of 1.3 million from BTAs, which were not adequately supported. So can you explain why this variance existed when you had made a claim that you had provided all supporting documents to the claim that was submitted?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the former Chief Director will respond, please.
Mr. Chairman, the question will be answered subsequently based on the structure of the report. 1.3 million. Where's the 1.3?
Can you please provide me the answer? Because you submitted claims.
Okay, we
and
submitted.
For 1.3 million, there were no supporting documents. And that's the explanation I need from you.
All right. The 2004, as at 31st December 2004, outstanding commitments and liabilities that we submitted to the Ministry of Finance per this communication was 2.7 million CDs. The details were processed on the gift mix and are kept on file with relevant supporting documents which were duly presented to the auditors. So I have to, okay. Currently, a senior accountant under the supervision of the Chief Treasurer is responsible for the recommended controls that were recommended by the auditors. And with respect to some of the payables, due to the fact that previous years of funds were not received to honor commitments made by the ministry based on approved allotments, the ministry decided that it would not make any commitments unless the BTAs BTA funds were actually received in the ministries.
Mister, one quick one. Yeah. Were the documents indeed provided, or they were not provided?
They were provided. That's what I'm informed of.
If they were indeed provided, why would the auditors reject such claims of 1.3 million? That is the explanation I need from you, because you are claiming that these supporting documents were all submitted for the audit purposes, but the auditors went ahead and rejected the 1.3 million.
So could there be any explanation to why the auditors rejected when you provided the supporting documents?
Unless the auditors clarify further, please.
Auditors, can you confirm if they indeed provided these supporting documents and their claims were further rejected? Auditors.
Honorable Chair, the amounts were rejected because they were not adequately supported. The evidence that was provided did not support the claim, hence the rejection.
Minister, I believe you have the explanation from the auditors. So the documents provided were not adequate enough to warrant the claim. And you are telling us in your response that you have put in place a senior accountant. Can you confirm if that senior accountant control mechanism is currently operational?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It's operational as we speak.
Have you done a reconciliation of what the auditors rejected?
Mr. Chairman, it's ongoing.
Can you provide some timelines as to when you can finish the committee with the procedures that have been conducted so far?
Mr. Chairman, we should be finishing in 2 weeks' time.
Chair, Minister confirms that they have a senior accountant in place now who is reconciling the 1.3 million that was rejected by the auditors, and that in 2 weeks, he will be able to furnish the committee with evidence of the reconciliation. So I move on to the next one. So this has to do with unpaid interest, which was owed under the 1D1F initiative and wasn't confirmed by the participatory banks. So can you explain why you provided a claim of 109 million, out of which you only knew 18 million could be validated, and the 90.4, you had no evidence, no support documents to back this? Can you explain why you submitted 109 when you knew you had evidence for only 18 million? Madam Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. When the auditors came, as part of the process, we made it clear to them that 1D1F is operating two forms of financing for the private sector. One is the interest subsidy regime that you alluded to. So if you go to the banks at that particular time and you ask them, they will be backing their books to the interest subsidy as standing. That is one. Two, we were also having what we call direct financing. That is the government of Ghana financing or supporting the industries. We used to call it distressed but viable companies. And that one, we also informed them. It is called direct financing. 2023 to 2024, if you recall, let me go back. When the agreement was signed and companies came under the 1D1F, the interest rate was capped at 20%. And that was what the government of Ghana, through the Ministry of Trade and the PFIs, participating financial institutions, were doing. 20%. And then, fast forward, by 2023, the policy rate, government policy rate, has gone beyond the 20% that we agreed with them. So the banks were not motivated to give any of their loans to the private because they are using depositors' money. And if they do it, they are going to do it at a loss. So in various engagements that we have with the banks agree that those companies that have had their offers before 2023, they will continue to pay the stipulated 20%, for which government will pay 10% and the private sector will pay 10%. But from 2023 going, the Ghana reference rate was even about 35%. So why should they use their money, depositors' money, to offset something that they will be doing at a loss?
Okay, I think that is very clear here. But from the agreement with these participating banks, government was supposed to provide 50% in subsidies for these interests. But with the amount that was rejected, there was no lodgement whatsoever to these banks. So you have no case to say that the banks did not pay because of the rate. How much of it was paid or lodged to the banks? If government had an agreement to pay 50% in subsidies and nothing of that sort was paid with this 90.4 million, then the banks have every reason to say they won't accept it. But then, can you confirm, was government able to pay anything out of the subsidies, even if government had agreed to a cap of 20%, okay, and government had paid its 10% of it at the time? But from your responses here, out of the 90.4, nothing of that sort was paid in subsidies.
Honorable Chair, that's exactly where I was going. So if you follow the interest subsidy agreement, one, as part of the obligation of government, government is supposed to make advance payment, and that is agreed. Two, when it comes to the second direct financing, as and when government of Ghana has finance, then the government of Ghana will now send the money to the banks. So if you go to the banks to ask them that how much is the ministry is owing you, there will be nothing. But 2023, 2024, that's why I wanted to give the background. Ghana reference rate was about 35%. So the government itself said, no, let me look for funding to support companies as additional working capital, for which we also explained to the auditors that we have what we call direct financing. So, Honorable, that is why if you look at our books or the bank's books, they were saying that we are not owing them. It's a fact. But that money was to use to support the companies as additional working capital.
Okay. Was there any form of reconciliation by the ministry and the banks? Because if you look at these discrepancy at the time, had there been any reconciliation as to how much was actually owed to these banks between the ministry and the banks? Can you confirm that?
Honorable Chair, we have always been having quarterly engagement with the banks to always update our the update of the standing.
Is there evidence to that?
Yes, we can provide.
Was this provided to the auditors when they came on site?
Please, they were provided with all the documents.
Auditors, can you provide evidence to this effect? Because they are claiming that they provided this to you. Because if there was evidence that there was no such amount owed at the time, why would they submit a total claim of 109 million? So, auditors.
Honorable Chair, we were provided with a schedule of the outstandings. We did not cite a reconciliation between the bank and the MDAs regarding the outstanding amount.
Minister, any response to that?
No, Mr. Chairman, what I would say, I thought if that figure became an issue, either the ministry or the auditors could have gone further to engage the banks to ascertain the validity of those claims.
Minister, the auditors, as part of their work, wrote to these banks and requested for confirmations on these balances. So for the auditors, they had done their part. But where the ministry failed is where the auditors touched on. Reconciliations between the banks and the ministry is a regular thing you should be doing. Once you have outstanding loans with these banks, you should be reconciling on a monthly basis. Auditors come, there are no evidence to the effect that reconciliations have been done. So if the bank comes to say that this is how much you are owed and you have no evidence to back that, how do you then defend your position? So that is what I think we are trying to improve systems, okay? Just admit that the ministry failed at the time to perform reconciliation. And don't double around it as though you did it and the auditors are saying you didn't do it. I believe you understand where I'm driving at. Director, I think Minister has done his bit. So, Chief Director.
In responding, we had accepted the recommendation that from the auditors that the reconciliation should end up in a signed document, mutual signed document, so that it's verifiable.
Exactly.
That's what the auditors suggested, and I think that's an improvement.
Thank you, Chief Director. So we move on to the next point, where there was 10.5 million worth of transaction not recognized by a Standard Chartered Bank. And this infraction, it's quite worrying because the auditors had written to these banks to confirm how much payments had gone through them. And Standard Chartered Bank came back to say that no amount of 10.5 million came through them. Do you have any explanation to that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you very much. First, as part of the auditor's report, we read that Standard Bank said that the accounts that we were talking about did not exist in their book. I want to put on record, and we have the documentations to prove that that account exists. As part of the 1D1F, and please, just a minute to explain, all the participating financial institutions have given us their bank account, and this bank account is also sitting in the books of Bank of Ghana. So when finance give authorizations in the form of BTAs, and then controller releases the amount of money, it goes into the ministry's accounts in the Bank of Ghana. And then the Bank of Ghana do the forward transfer to the banks as per the instruction that controller has given. So we were amazed to hear that Sanchad is saying that that account, to be fair with you, we have never had any account called buffer account. It never exists in our books. But that account number exists with Sanchad.
Okay. On that basis, we are trying to improve the systems. Do you have any evidence or a bank statement confirming the existence of that bank account with Sanchad?
Chair, please, we have.
If you have a bank statement of Standard Chartered, was that provided to the auditors when they came?
Yes, because all the bank accounts, we provided everything to the accountant, the auditors. So that's why we are saying that we, from the ministry, we are amazed about this. Yeah.
I think that I have further information to that effect. Auditors, can you confirm if you cited this bank statement and if Standard Chartered Bank has come back to you with evidence of the existence of the account?
Honorable Chair, we were not provided with bank statement of that account by the MDA. Indeed, when the bank confirmed that the account did not exist, we came back. First, we asked the bank to confirm amounts that the MDA has with them. The bank came that we should provide further details. So we reached out to the MDA and then we provided the account number. The bank indicated initially that they could not trace it. So we reverted to the MDA. So it has been back and forth. Just a week or so, the bank came back to us that indeed that bank account that we stated, they still could not trace it, but then there's another account that they have seen transactions between the bank and then the MDA. We are yet to take a detailed look at that account to satisfy ourselves that indeed it was for the program.
You mean same bank
but a different account.
Yeah, same bank, but a
Now,
different account.
I mean, having listened to the 1A1F man, he makes claims that there's an existence of that bank account. I mean, and there's a statement to that effect. Have you boarded? And I want to find out from you, have you given copies of these statements to the auditors to verify? Because, I mean, that for me is the most important thing. Please, have you done that? Because you claim that you have the statement. Do you have the statement with you now?
Yes. So the letter and the details of the accounts are all here that we can provide. That's why I'm saying that from our side, we were surprised to hear from the auditors that that account does not exist. Madam Chair.
So you claim, please, take your time. So are you telling this committee that as you sit here, you have statements from Standard Bank with the account number?
I have, yes, one, a letter from the Sanchad confirming the account number. And then when we also did the transfer.
Are you able to pass on this document? Please kindly
yes.
pass it on. Let me have a look at it.
Do you owe the bank any money?
Honorable Chair, no.
So why would they deny? Why would they deny that you don't have an account with them?
Honorable Chair, that's the reason why I'm saying that I myself, we are amazed. Because Standard Chartered Bank is one of the PFIs that has two companies, and two companies specifically, Ayum and Agric.
So I have with me here a letter from Standard Chartered Bank, and addressed to the Minister of Trade, Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Administrative Office, Ministries, Accra, and the attention one Kofi Addo. Dear Sir, payment details to Standard Chartered Bank Ghana PLC. Please find submission of account payment details on behalf of Standard Chartered Bank PLC. And they have stated the account name, the SWIFT code, the branch, and the account numbers involved. There's a USD, in fact, they are all USD accounts. Maybe I have to pass it on to the auditors because the auditors claim that they have seen another account that they are yet to verify. This is coming from the ministry. And this is a committee of records. I'm not too sure the ministry will submit a document knowing very well the implications of it. So I need you to confirm, just cross-check this document with what you have so that we are able to settle this matter here once. Yes, whether you've seen this document before. Kindly do that for us.
Yeah. Madam Chair, the account numbers were two. One was the USD and one was the CD account. Yes, thank you.
And I don't know if you'll be able to also give me a copy of the letter, the account that you have cited. We also would want to see what you have cited. Probably maybe I'll offer you the opportunity to explain whether or not there are differences in the two documents that you have you have seen. So please, yes, just allow. So auditors, you have the floor. You have the floor. You can now go ahead and explain to us.
Honorable Chair, I have also forwarded a response from the bank. Looking at what you shared with us, the account numbers are the same as we have requested of the bank. And if, per the confirmation that you have, if you could take a look at it, you'll see exactly what the bank said, that they could not trace the account into in their system.
Same account. Same account.
Honorable, yes.
In one breath, the bank confirms to the ministry that there's an existence of that account. But I'm surprised. I'm surprised at the bank.
I must add
yes,
that
please,
in their latest confirmation, they indicated that they have another account where transactions have happened between themselves and the ministry. But on that specific account, which the ministry provided to us, the bank, in their confirmation, said they could not trace it, in their system.
Did they provide specific account details, i.e. bank account numbers, to the recent communique that came from the bank? Was that provided to you?
Let me revert on that in a minute.
Yes, kindly do that.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, from their confirmation, they did not mention that specific bank account number.
Yeah, so I think we need to get to the bottom of this matter. And I mean, people's integrity are on the line. I think it's important for you and the auditors, it's important for you to get back to the bank because, I mean, in their haste to give different accounts, I even cited on the letter from the ministry, it was not even dated. I mean, if you look at the letter from Standard Chartered to the ministry, it was not even dated. If I look at the statement, the letter that was given to you, there are even differences in logo sizes. I mean, you wonder how serious this bank would want to handle state matters. So get back to them. I mean, we want a response from them. Kindly provide them with these account details from the ministry and for them to also confirm or otherwise if this account really exists, and if not, the account that there is, they should be able to give us some details. We need that before we are able to submit this report to the plenary. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion, Mr. Chairman? I was thinking that because we have provided the account details and the auditors have different account details, won't it be possible for the committee to officially write to Standard for confirmation or otherwise?
You see, the committee will not write directly to the bank. The auditors and then the ministry will be the ones to get us that information. Standard is a private company, but if they are dealing with the ministry, the auditors can request for it.
Then also the auditors are working for and on behalf of the state, as we are doing now. So we expect them to act in good faith, and that is why we'll make reference to them to get back to the bank and provide us with that information. Probably maybe, if I think UI, right? Yeah, yes, so kindly be working with the audit service for us to get, before, please, even before closure of this sitting, we end on Thursday. So before Thursday, if we can get a response from the bank, reconciling their two positions so that we are able to provide adequate explanation to the Ghanaian people. Thank you.
What we may end up doing is to call them in closed session with the auditors and the ministry. That much we will do. We will call them. So, Stanchard, if you are listening, provide the right papers.
Thank you, Chair. I think we'll proceed. Ministry, there was also a wrong classification of a BTA of 2.6 million Ghana cedis. Can the ministry provide some explanation as to why they classify the amount as arrears or payables when indeed this was just a commitment?
Mr. Chairman, the amount of 2.6 million is in respect of Government of Ghana's counterpart payment to International Fund for Agricultural Development. And this was not part of the budget. We normally will request for Ministry of Finance to make the payment, and they will initiate the process at Ministry of Finance.
Chief Director, can you tell us, at the time of this classification, was there an obligation to you as a ministry?
Yes, please. For the past 2 years, we haven't gotten the payment to IFAD as counterpart funding. So it's been outstanding for almost 2 years. Three years, actually.
My point here is that the auditors are now saying that this amount should have been classified as a commitment being that a contract was just signed and it becomes something in the books. But until the performance of it, it does not constitute an arrear or a payable. So I am asking, at the time of the classification, was there an obligation to the ministry to pay that amount?
Yes. The Rural Enterprise Project has a financing agreement signed by the Ministry of Finance on behalf of the ministry. And we are the requesting party who the Rural Enterprise Project would notify us to forward a request to the Ministry of Finance, and that obligation will be met.
Since we have the auditors here, auditors, can you confirm if your further verification confirmed that this should have been arrears and not a commitment as you have stated in the report?
Honorable Chair, per the schedule that was provided to us, it was stated as a BTA, but looking at the documentation that we cited, it should be a commitment, rather than a BTA. A BTA implied that it had gone through all the approval processes, just pending payment. But per the document we reviewed, it had not gotten to that stage, and we reclassified it from BTA to commitment.
Chief Director, do you have anything to say on this?
Mr. Chair, we accept that. It was initiated at Ministry of Finance, so we accept it.
So what assurances would you give the committee that in the future such a misclassification will not occur?
Mr. Chair, as the former Chief Director said, this is part of the agreement with IFAD to make that amount available yearly. As we speak, the project has ended as of December last year, and the amounts are still outstanding.
Okay. Let's move on to fiscal verification of assets and goods and services. So the auditors noted there was a missing laptop. That was in their verification handed over to a former minister. Can you confirm if this laptop has been retrieved and if there is evidence confirming the retrieval of this laptop?
Honorable Chair, as a ministry, we would like to confirm that the laptop have been retrieved. indeed, the laptop is not working, and it was with the IT division, so it has been retrieved. Thank you very much.
So you mean that the said laptop was in your possession even at the time of the audit? Is that the case?
Per the information that was given to us, the laptop was not working, so it was given to, yes. So it is in our possession.
No, please, take your time, take your time. There's a laptop in question. Now, according to the audit report, the laptop is missing. Now, you tell us that no, the laptop is not missing, and that the laptop is not working, and the laptop was with IT department. These are three issues that we have raised. I want to find out from you, at the time of the audit, where was this laptop?
At the time of the audit, per the information that was given to us, it was with the IT department.
Yeah. IT department of the ministry. And so the laptop wasn't missing, but the laptop was with the IT department for repairs because it wasn't working. Is that what you are telling this committee?
Madam Chair, yes.
All right.
Okay, Chief Director, at the time of the audit, now there is response that it was with the IT unit. When the auditors were on site, what evidence was available at the time? And what explanation did you provide to the auditors for them to capture as missing, when indeed you knew this laptop was with the IT unit? Can you provide some better particulars? Because this one, it doesn't sit well, because you cannot say it was with the IT and auditors will classify as missing at the time of audit.
Honorable Chair, these are part of the processes and then inventory that sometimes we are confronted with. The issue was that at that time, that we were all looking around to look for that particular computer, and it has the number and everything. So we were all looking to see where exactly it was. And because it wasn't working, the IT people have also put it somewhere. So until later on that we wanted to look at our books again, and then we were able to trace that, oh, the laptop is around.
So it is worrying that in this report, it's been captured as a deputy minister at the time who had in possession this laptop. But here, from the explanation we are hearing, it was never with the person, it was with an IT person. And it's been captured in this report that it was in the possession of the deputy minister. And this is worrying. This is not even the case here. There are other inventory management issues that you have at the ministry. Here, there are 47 air conditions, 16 chairs, which were issued without proper documentation. And this raises a lot of questions on how we keep our inventory. So please, ministry, you have to be up and doing, and let's put in the internal controls such that these things do not occur. Because it's worrying. You tarnish a minister's name, and it now comes up that the laptop was with the IT department, sitting somewhere. And now, whoever picks this report and does not have this explanation does not know what happened. So please, it is sad and worrying that we have such a situation. So, Minister, I think that you would need to put things in the right perspective so that the ministry can set up on these inventory issues. Maybe you want to say something?
Yeah, what I would say is that the point is well noted. Going forward, we will try and see. I mean, it's not right, because if you read the report, it looks as if the deputy minister deliberately hid it, but that was not what happened. And luckily for us, we now have it in our possession. So the advice is taken.
But Mr.
It was there the whole time. So it wasn't just found. From the explanation given, it was there. So it wasn't missing.
Mr. When we were in secondary school, and we're about graduating. Even books, textbooks that are given to you by the school, until you submit those books, you don't get your certificate. And the whole ministry is exposing its lack of inventory management to the extent that a laptop, or not even a vehicle, not even a laptop is now reported that a deputy minister refuses to bring a laptop that was in his possession, which, it's been a subject of media discussions and ridiculing and all of that. Probably, Minister. And I know, people who get opportunity to serve as deputy, like my uncle. If tomorrow an audit report comes and says that Samsianyi refuses to submit a laptop, because just last week I told him about a laptop for my kids in my place. He bought me 3 laptops. So how do you say that Samsianyi is refusing to return even 1 laptop? And it becomes a subject of audit report, and it's contained in this special audit finding. I don't think it's proper. So probably maybe we may have to use this opportunity with this information that has come to apologize to the minister in question, the deputy minister in question, that as a state we are sorry for wrongly accusing him of keeping a laptop of this nature.
Who is accusing him? No, you see, we need to be careful over here. It's the ministry that he worked. The ministry that he worked. Who is saying that he didn't return it? Yes, sir. Doc.
So maybe before we invite the minister to say anything further, I'm just wondering how the auditors could have come to this conclusion. And they are here. What did the ministry tell you? How come you captured it as missing? And the impression is being created that it was in the possession of the minister. The ministry is giving us the impression that they didn't give any such information. So can you reconcile this? How did you create that?
Honorable Chair, obviously we couldn't have created that. In our report, we specifically indicated that per the inquiry, we were told that it was issued to the former deputy minister, but then it was not handed over. So we have captured exactly what we were told. We couldn't have created that. Thank you.
So per this new finding, that they somehow have now found it in the possession of the IT department, locked up somewhere that they had even forgotten of. Has this development been brought to your attention? And how do you reconcile that going forward?
It has just been brought to our attention.
You're just hearing it here?
Yeah, just hearing it now. So we'll engage the ministry to give us evidence of that.
You see, honorable member, all that this thing exposes is that ministry, they don't have audit trail on assets. When they transfer assets to somebody, they don't have an audit trail on it. That's what it exposes. Otherwise, they wouldn't have mentioned the deputy minister's name, that he had it, whilst it was sitting at IT. Yahtzee. Are you done, sir? Thank you very much. Ministry of Trade and Industry, you are discharged.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Now we call Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Almighty God swear
that the evidence I shall give before this committee touching the matter in issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
So help me God.
No, yes,
Honorable Minister, could you and your delegation introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, Honorable Chair. My name is Honorable John Dumelo, MP for Ayawaso West Wagon, and then also Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture.
Honorable Chair, good morning. My name is Paul Siame, the Chief Director, Minister of Food and Agriculture.
Honorable Chair, my name is Nuhu Ibrahim. I'm the head of budget at the ministry.
Honorable Chair, my name is Emmanuel Edusei, Financial Controller, Minister of Food and Agriculture.
My name is Doris Yanwana Vayi, the former Director of Procurement.
My name is Josephine Ivy-Quegrin, Acting Director, PPMED.
All right, Minister of Agriculture, we'll start with Honorable Davis Opokwa San, and it's on paragraph 96 to 102.
Thank you very much. I did for you. How is the Nkokon Kitinkete doing?
They are becoming Nkokon Kesen.
So you realize that the focus of the Ministry of Finance, and for that matter, the Deputy Minister, especially in his submission on the floor of Parliament, and also this morning, clearly it's on the ministry that you are heading. And I think it's important that we clarify the issues, give us explanations, and if wrong has been done, we ensure that as a committee, the right punitive measures are put in place. But to start with, I want us to look at page 96 of the report. And I probably maybe will make reference to the auditors that talked about the reclassification of the outstandings. It is indicated that there's a total amount of 1,232,304, out of which 120,090 related to MUFAD, and 1,112,213 is related to the Ministry of Finance. And these are reclassification. Are you able to give explanations, auditors, to this subject? Yes, please go ahead. No, I'm starting with the auditors. I want us to look at the reclassifications that you did.
Honorable Chair, these have been reclassified because these did not belong to MOFA. That is why it was reclassified. But it was included in the schedule that was provided to us.
All right, okay. So now let's get to the details. Some 72 million, and I'm on page 98, which is on validation of arrears and payables of commitments. The audit report says that some 72 million was already settled. And this, you include this in your outstanding payables and claims. They cite Power China International, they cite Mrs. Agric Limited, they cite Grumman Twins Company Limited, they cite Rans Logistics Limited. Let me start with Power China. What is your response to the difference of about 5,963,544 that you submitted to the Ministry of Finance when you knew that it had been paid. Are you able to give some explanation to this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will hand it over to my budget officer to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. In fact, this observation came as a surprise to us. As earlier on, the Chief Director of the Ministry of Finance was talking about exchange rate differentials. When it was found, we and the auditors had agreed that it was due to exchange rate differences because the contract is in US dollars, claims are made in US dollars, but the budget is under GOG. So usually when we applied in Ghana cedis. The monies are released in Ghana cedis, sent to Bank of Ghana, and then it is converted back again to US dollars to the contractor. So until the process is complete, you don't have the exact amount. So depending on who is converting or at what stage, you will come out with different figures. So this was the case. But even going further, if we want to go by the audit standards, what they put there, if the contractor had confirmed their outstandings in US dollars, and if you were to go and use it as the confirmation that they got from the contractor, you wouldn't have arrived at this conclusion. You would have seen that it's a different conclusion altogether. So we felt that even the confirmation process was not authenticated, or maybe it was just a convenience pick for that matter.
You are being very vague. I mean, you claim that if you were to follow auditing standards, that should not be the case. What should be the case, Mr. Nuhu?
Honorable, respectfully, let me I'm not saying auditing standards. I say their standards because they use the contractor's confirmation to authenticate the situation. And if I obtained the response from the contractor from them on Friday, and then the contractor clearly indicated they are outstanding with us, which is different from their findings.
You mean the contractor's communication to the auditors is completely different from what is contained in the report?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of that letter?
Yes.
All right. Kindly pass it on. Auditors, do you have something to say on this very infraction?
Honorable Chair, would like to see a copy of the confirmations that he has now and compare it with what we have.
But sir, from the ministry, is that I'm sorry, the one who was answering for the ministry, budget officer. But after the auditors got their responses, they called you to the Ministry of Finance. Didn't they call you there?
Yeah, they call us.
And didn't you guys, compare notes? Didn't you go there to confirm?
Honorable Chair, that's what I indicated, that the earlier agreement that we had with it is not what the conclusion that is in the report. Because in their rejection,
No, but I'm back to the letter from Power China International Group Limited. And I have a letter with me dated June 12, 2025, and with reference PCGH 2025-035, attention Georgina Insia, ENY, and it's on the Palugu irrigation project. Auditors, do you have a copy of this letter? Or you want to see this letter? If you want to, I can pass it on. Please. Is there someone called Georgina Ancia at EY? Okay. And can you authenticate this letter, whether or not? Yes, please kindly speak to it.
Yes, we can authenticate.
But the figure on the letter is completely different from what was captured in the report. Are you able to explain why it happened so?
Honorable Chair, as I take a look at the figures, based on the confirmation we received and per the schedule of the outstanding payments, you can see that there has been in the report, in the confirmation, 11.949 million that the supplier indicated that had already been paid. Part of this was included in the outstanding payment. So based on the confirmation and our internal checks, we noted that 5.96 million of it had already been paid, but was included in the schedule, and hence the rejection.
Thank you very much. And it brings me back to the question I asked when the Deputy Minister was in the chair about exit meetings and because I know per standard audit practice, you need to come back to the agency involved. Ministry of Agric, are you able to tell us, with this information that you are providing us now, are you able to tell us whether or not the auditors came back to you to seek clarification on this particular Power China infraction?
Honorable Chair, yes. We had discussions on it, and then it was clear that this was due to exchange rate differences. But we didn't have the responses from the supplier. The suppliers' responses went straight to the auditors.
So it is established that the amount here can be attributed to exchange rate differentials. Is that the case, auditors?
Honorable Chair, would have to verify that. So we'll engage them to verify that. But as was indicated, the outstanding payables were translated at a certain rate that was shared with us by the Ministry, of Finance. So we would like to go into it a bit more detailed. But at the time that we performed the procedures, these clearly showed an overpayment, which we had to reject. If it is being attributed to exchange rates, would like to confirm that by verifying it.
Thank you very much. I find it a bit worrying when there's a fixed exchange rate, especially when we know how fluctuating the rate can be. But that said, we will need you to confirm, just confirm with them and revert to us. Now let's go to Agric Limited, an amount of 4,147,434 is reported to have been paid already, and you still found its way in your books. Minister of Agric, any response to this?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Again, we maintain that as at 31st December 2024, this 4,147,434 was correctly classified. There's no evidence that Agric was paid before 31st December 2024.
Auditors, are you able to tell us how you arrived at the 4,147,434?
Honorable Chair, we have had discussions with the ministry, not once, severally, where we have pointed out this overpayment to them. If it is their contention that it is not, I am surprised by it. But the understanding that we had from the Ministry of Finance, in terms of procedure, we looked at the supporting documentation from the ministry, and then we compared it to what was confirmed by the vendor, with the vendor's supporting documentation. And we again engaged the vendor, and the vendor indicated that this amount have already been paid to them. So if this is coming from the ministry, we'd like to have the opportunity to engage the ministry again on this.
So, auditors, if I heard you clearly, you have evidence that these payments were made already. That is why you rejected them.
Honorable, yes.
What is the form of evidence you have or you saw?
So if you look at the supporting documentation, and you look at what had been confirmed by the supplier, and you do the so you have your evidence and supporting document, and then you have the supplier's supporting document about the outstanding payments. You can clearly see that the difference, is what had been paid. And we engaged the ministry on this, and the ministry confirmed that it had been paid. This is why we have not had any discrepancy throughout the exit meeting and even the meetings at the Ministry of Finance. So if,
this audit was conducted, or it's a 31st December 2024 audit that you conducted. Now, from the ministry's point of view, the payment to Agric indeed happened on the 6th of January 2025. And I have the bank statement from the Bank of Ghana on this very transaction with me. And so if they say as of December 31st, the ministry owed Agric this X amount, indeed, that should be the case.
Honorable Chair, as I said, this evidence was not made known to us. So we'll take a look at the evidence that had been...
But ministry, why did you not make this evidence available to the auditors when they came to you?
Honorable, is the authentication process. We told them that we hadn't paid. They wrote to the contractor. The contractor said that he has been paid. They didn't authenticate what the contractor said. When were you paid and what? So this conclusion, when they came to us that this man was paid, as at that time we knew, but we told them that if you are the contractor is going to confirm as at the time you ask him. So as at the time you ask him, his probably has been paid. But this was correctly classified before 31st December 2024.
Well, it runs through the entire process, because a period was given for the audit, 31st December, and if payments are made after 31st December, you certainly would not expect them to speak to it. But I expected some reconciliation before we spent a lot of money in printing these huge books for members of parliament to take their time and be going through and all of that. It's a bit worrying. So I don't know if you have something to say, Mr. Auditor.
Honorable Chair, we'll engage the MDA, on this new evidence, and we'll revert.
Oh, there's this issue of Gruma. and the amount involved is 4,108,482, and it has to do with the construction of a 10-unit grain warehouses in the Northern Zone districts under IPEP. Minister of Agric.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Again, we have not made any payment to Gourmet Twins as far as the 4,108,482 is concerned. There's no evidence from our side. I don't know if the auditors had obtained any evidence that this money was paid and it was known to us.
Is it up to date? Are you speaking?
No, I'm talking about
as at 31st December.
31st, yes.
As at 31st December.
Yes, even now I cannot confirm that.
Even now you cannot confirm?
No, because we have not made such payments.
You have not made such payments?
Yes.
But run us through, how are payments made at your end for suppliers? And luckily for us, we have a man from Controller today as a member of Parliament. So please run us through so that at least we can confirm.
Usually when we receive a claim, we also go ahead and with the supporting documents, and then with the approval of the minister, we submit a request to the Minister of Finance for release of funds. The Minister of Finance also goes through a process, authenticate the documents, verify, and then if they are satisfied, they send their release, or they release the funds to us. Then we raise an invoice based on the released funds. It was probably sometimes goes back to Minister of Finance, or it goes directly to Controller. If it goes to Minister of Finance also go through the invoice and then check the necessary documentation and approve, and it will go back to Controller. Then depending on funds availability, Controller will send the funds to our treasury. And then also it also goes through verification, because the treasury officer will also have to verify the PV with all the necessary documentation. If they are satisfied, then we issue the command, and then Bank of Ghana will pay the supplier.
So the command comes from the Ministry of Agric?
Yes.
For BAG to pay the supplier?
Yes.
So it means that if Gruma were to be having paid, you will be in the known?
Yes. Exactly.
So, but during the exit meeting, when the auditors told you that they have documentation to the effect that, or they've spoken to Gruma and that Gruma has been paid this amount of money, what reasoning did you give to the auditors?
We maintain that we have no knowledge that this money has been paid.
Well, if the contractor says that the state has paid him and the ministry has no knowledge, it's a bit, I nearly said hallelujah, because but auditors, why would this happen? I mean, why, is there any explanation why in their books? Because they have to give the command for payment. He's saying that he has not done any such thing. Unless you are able to tell this committee that the Ministry of Finance paid at the blind side of the ministry.
Honorable Chair, this response by the MDA is quite new to us. I guess what we'll need to do is to revert to the MDA, again, so then we can come back to the committee. Thank you.
All right, please do kindly engage so that we are able to get the right figures and all of that. Let me come to Rans Logistics Limited, and this has to do with transportation and distribution of 134,000 metric tons of imported rice and maize. The amount involved is 57,600,000, and I think that this is what the Deputy Minister made reference to, claiming that the contractor had come back to pay some 19 million plus to the ministry. But let me just begin from the 57,600,000. Ministry of Agric.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, but before I answer that one, I want to also put on note that our responses are not new to the auditors, as they claim. Because these documents, all these suppliers that we are talking about, we gave them the files for the contracts, and they peruse. They only choose to take the words of the contractor over our data. And when the contractors were responding to them, we didn't have hindsight to peruse it. So sometimes the two are clear, but I think it's a convenience pick. Because I looked through, we warned them about some maybe inaccuracies that might have come, from the contractors. And if you receive it, you needed to authenticate it. If you don't authenticate and yet you are using as a sacrosanct against our data, that's also a problem. But coming back to Rand's logistics.
No, I'm coming. But UI, when you went to meet with the suppliers, why did you not release same to the ministry so that they can authenticate or otherwise the information that you were given?
Honorable Chair, with respect of this 57.6 million.
No, I think it was a general observation that in all the infractions that have been cited, when you engage the private companies involved, you never came back to them to tell them about what these companies had told you, but you went ahead to do your report.
Honorable
yes,
Chair,
yes, go ahead.
We engaged them severally. That's why I keep saying that their responses are surprising to me, because we engaged them severally. We had exit meeting with them where these rejected were made available to them. They came to the Ministry of Finance when they were given the opportunity, and they did not raise these issues. Indeed, they accepted the amounts that have been rejected. So I am quite surprised.
If you say you engaged them, did you write to them that these are your observations? And if you wrote to them, can you give us a copy of the letter that was given to the Ministry of Agric so that we are able to, because it's your word against theirs. And like a very popular case that happened, you and I were not there. We can only verify based on the document that, in engaging the ministry, it ought to be on a paper. You cannot do that by word of mouth.
Honorable Chair, we were working at the ministry. So when we received the confirmation and we noted differences, as part of the evidence gathering, we engaged them that, look, this is what the supplier has confirmed, and this is the difference. Can you please check your records and give us additional information as to why the supplier's confirmation is inaccurate? We didn't have that, and we put it in the report. This report was shared with all MDAs when we issued the draft report to the Ministry of Finance, and the Ministry of Finance organized a meeting for all the MDAs. They were giving a copy of the report, and it was in the form of the arrears, what had been validated, and the reasons for the rejection of the amounts. And we have had these meetings, and they were giving opportunity to.
Well, like I mentioned, we were in there, you and I certainly. But I feel that, despite the fact, you are not an employee of the ministry, and so if you have done an audit of the ministry and there are some findings, at least there has to be a paper trail so that we get to know that these are the concerns that you raised. If they were unable to respond, then we can hold them responsible, because it's claimed that you did not get back to him. Would sound like somebody getting away with...
Honorable Chair, we engaged them. We couldn't have put the report together without engaging them.
Well, Ministry of Agric, the auditors engaged you.
Yes, Honorable. The engagement, we engage severally. But for the specific points, for example, the responses from the contractors to them, they were not shared with us. They were not shared with us. This is what you only send us a table that this is what the contractor said, that he has been paid. but we cannot authenticate it.
Let's get to Rand's logistics. Okay, please kindly hold on. A colleague wants to.
Yeah, just for the just to inquire from the auditors, is there any way where the rep from the ministry vis-a-vis the contractors were at the same time together to deliberate on any of these findings?
Honorable Chair, the suppliers, no, together with the ministry and us, no. There was not such a forum where the three of us were seated, but we made known to the ministry the responses we had received from the suppliers.
So, Honorable Chair, this thing is getting very disturbing. The parties here are under oath. There's a standard procedure that the auditing will usually take. And yet, what the ministry is saying is that it appears there's a discrepancy between what they presented as evidence to the auditors and what the auditors are reporting. At the same time, we are convinced from both submissions, indeed, submissions from both sides, that there was an exit meeting. So what did the exit meeting arrive at? And how come a committee of parliament is being put through this? Certainly, some untruth is being told here. And we are all under oath. So I'm wondering, can we really get this thing properly handled and know where the axe falls? Is audits, what happened? Did you really get this job really done? If you did, then how come the budget officer is saying this?
Just to add on to, and I think it's a very, very important point. I mean, there were references made to this report on the floor of Parliament, which, in fact, there were references made which were not captured in this report. It was not captured in this report. It was until after we had met as a committee to go through this report that we got additional document information. I mean, you went ahead, prepared a report. You did not include it. It was used on the floor to make a very bold statement. And I don't want to engage because, you see, as politicians or as ministers or as wherever, we feed on information that is given us. We act on information that are given us. It was not contained in the report, and today we are being asked to speak to it. And you realize that, because you see, most of these suppliers, and what I find worrying is that most of these suppliers are always at the ministry. They are chasing their contracts, they are chasing their payments, they are following up on projects. And so if you engage them at a conference, the conference room of the ministry, you could just have said that, well, Gruma says that it's been paid. You are also saying it's not been paid. What is the truth in this? So that this thing does not come to us and our colleagues are in the house engaging their constituents, and we have to sit here doing this. So please, kindly respond to what happened with respect to Rand's logistics.
Again, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Chairman, Rand's logistics was properly classified. Rand's logistic contract total was 150,200,000. We made an application to the Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance released or gave it a warrant of 57,600,000. That was 50% of the invoice of Rand's Logistics. We had a warrant of 57,600,000. Since then, we haven't received any warrant until the end of 31st December 2024. So invariably, the outstanding on the invoice of 150,200,000 is 57,600,000. Unless the auditors have any evidence that since the warrant of 57,600,000, there was an additional 57,600,000 paid.
Oh, no, please, just take your time. Because just this morning we have been told of some 19 million that was paid, 19.1 that was returned to coffers. And you are saying that there hasn't been any additional. Why would the company return 19.1 million?
Okay, Honorable, I think that is another realm. But we are saying at this stage, the auditor stated that 57,600,000 had already been paid, and yet we included it in our submission to them as claims. The story is that the invoice of Rans Logistics is 150,200,000. What was released before 31st December 2024 was 57,600,000. So it's clear that the outstanding on that invoice was 57,600,000. And that is what we stated as our outstanding to Rans Logistics.
So
as at this point.
I think that because there's no capex, this is under goods and services, and I think the law is a bit stricter. But the appreciation I get is that their duty was to transport and distribute 134,000 metric tons of imported rice and maize. And this was under a certificate of emergency. Is that the case?
Yes, Honorable.
Is that why you'd go ahead and pay the total amount when they had not delivered? What were you hoping that they should do?
It was 50% that was paid.
Yes, I mean, why would you? Because in the report, we don't get the appreciation that they have distributed the 50%. So why do you go ahead to pay 50% to them?
Okay, Honorable, I thought that because we had a prepared response for that, but maybe I will just give you the background why this 57 million was released. This was a top management decision because it was an emergency situation. The transportation involved was 134,000 metric tons. These are millions of bags, 50 kg bags. And to mobilize transportation for such, emergency situation is $1,000 an easy task for the ministry. We had contacted a lot of transporters. They could not lift anything. So the decision was, if we have money at hand, then we can facilitate the emergency distribution of the. So this was discussed between finance and then the ministry at the top level. And that resulted in the release of the 57 million. Said that when we have it, and as and when, we got the transportation, and then we pay.
Okay, so you are telling us that because of the emergency situation in this nature, of this particular transportation of rice and distribution of rice and maize, and you needed to pay the money to the firm in Rans Logistics so that they distribute as and when. But did you have the rice and maize in your possession that they were going to distribute these items?
Honorable, yes. As at that time, we had inspected the rice at the warehouse of the supplier because we didn't have capacity for storage. We went physically encountered and took possession by way of putting our padlocks with the supplier padlocks in it before the transporter was to start. But it's not that we were to pay the transporter ahead of it because we needed the money because it was an emergency situation, because the application process is long. So we needed the money to have come to the treasury of the Ministry of Agric so that we can facilitate payment. Because it was an emergency, because they are also mobilizing other transporters to help, because there were millions of bags involved. But this was just the time that elections had just also been concluded, and there was a change of government. So the transporter, when went to pick the items, they were physically prevented. Not the supplier, but other parties that were not parties to the contracts. So we're on it. And that's how come that Rand's Logistics couldn't do much, because they needed access to the rice and then the maize to be able to perform.
So you had engaged this company to be doing distribution?
Yes.
But because of, I mean, we all saw what happened in the news and all of that. So it gets to the warehouse, it's unable to pick the products. But it needed to have distributed the 134,000 across the country where there was a need for. And so why have you not resumed that the contractor or the contractor involved now has to come back and pay monies to or return monies to you? 19 million, 19.1 million. Why have you not resumed the distribution?
No, what happened was that when the chaos happened, then the supplier also had mobilized. On several occasions they go and they don't have access, and it also said that it was costing him. But at that time, controller had released 50 million for us in his name. So when we did the reconciliation, we realized that what he had transported was not up to the 50 million. So,
because he was prevented?
Yes.
Because they were prevented from accessing the warehouses?
Yes.
Because the warehouses were locked under lock and key?
Yes.
And so it was not as if somebody somewhere was engaged in trying to keep government resources. Is that the case?
Yes, Honorable. The supplier, initially the party people prevented him, and subsequently the supplier owned his agent, so they didn't give him access to continue the transportation.
Party people prevent?
Since some people came and took over the warehouse.
When was this? When was this done?
That is after the election.
After the election?
Yeah, we have to get the military to even intervene, but still.
So then this claim about they not distributing and all of that is non-existent. They were, no. So Adam, I think Adam wants to come in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that some of the claims being made are very important issues that we must further interrogate. I have a follow-up question for Madam who just spoke about party people invading. I would want her to clarify what she means by party people and whether or not the supplier does not have any CCTV or anything to verify, and whether per the assertion she is making, she is saying that all the items that have not been supplied have been carried away by these so-called party people, as she is claiming.
Honorable, please, I don't think she has made that assertion. She only said that the suppliers or the distributors were prevented from accessing the warehouse. And of course, you see,
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I heard her right. She said the party people took over the warehouse. And I think if you can kindly allow her to answer the question. We all heard her when she said party people after the election. And these are very serious claims that she should be able to validate her claims before this committee. People are watching us.
Let me answer for her, Honorable Adam. I think the party people she meant were just Ghanaians who just took over the warehouse, not necessarily political party people.
Mr. Chair, Respectfully, I don't think that the person who made the claim is here.
Adam,
And
that is the deputy minister, and the deputy
oh yes,
minister.
no, so I'm saying that, Mr. Minister, respectfully, the person who made the claim is here. She should be able to expatiate. Tell us, which party people, what activities did they engage in at the supplier's place? For which reason a company was paid 50 million and they failed to supply up to that amount?
Honorable member, the minister has stepped in.
But Mr. Chairman, respectfully.
Yeah.
No, but what is it? No, but if the ministers and
So,
guys no.
okay, so Honorable Adam, I think that the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about the parties involved. And so in her submission, she just said some party people took over the warehouse, not necessarily political party people taking over the warehouse.
And so, like,
Mr. Chairman,
when
I
we
think
say
that respectfully, some of these things, we beg you, Mr. Chairman, we're all here.
Adam.
She made a categorical statement.
But Adam,
she
Adam.
is in a position to explain herself.
Adam,
we shouldn't
please,
let the minister shield her by the answers that we all heard her.
I think
Which
that
party people?
I think that
are you saying that
I think let's be fair.
individuals took over the supplier's place for which reason they failed to supply up to 19 million Ghana cedis? She should be able to answer respectfully.
Well,
Adam, I'm the chairman here.
Mr. Chairman, this.
Are you trying to tell me that I'm not doing my job well? The minister has stepped in. And the minister is telling us it was Ghanaians who went there.
You see, but to be fair, if we are talking about rice, distribution of rice, warehouse, contract, and somebody says a party, the person never said a political party. A party to this one could be a party or the person who even brought in the rice. It could be the distributor. It could be, so please, the person, the woman was very, very clear that a party prevented the distribution of rice.
Adam.
A party prevented.
I'm also a party member. If
No
you
doubt
want
about that, Mr.
anything,
Chairman.
listen. Please show just a little bit of respect
Mr. Chairman,
for the chairman.
Respectfully, I'm only saying that these things are for public records. It is important for her to say what she said and validate it. You should be able to tell them. If you don't have the floor, how do you speak? That's all we are saying. How do you say that?
Madam, when you made reference to party, what did you mean by that?
I would, if it's misunderstood, I meant other people that were not part of the contract that came around the place, and then the agent of the supplier who also did not give us access.
Thank you very much. So
to what the chairman, what your deputy ranking has said. The answer is contradictory to what the deputy ranking.
Respectfully, young man, Honorable MP, please, your chairman has spoken. I think we should end it. You are not more party-like than your chairman who is here taking over the affairs of what we are doing. Respectfully.
Madam Chair, respectfully, I take strong exception to that statement.
Respectfully.
I asked the question because this is a committee of Parliament. Parliament is a house of records.
Take over and do what is expected. Please.
Madam Chair, respectfully, I never said I was more partisan than anybody. It is important for these statements to be placed in proper context. So I respectfully ask that the person should further explain what she meant by party people.
Well,
and I did not mean to say that I was more partisan than anyone.
She has done that. Please.
She gave you a response, yet you are not
honorable
pleased
members,
with the
please.
response.
Honorable members, please. Let's respect the chair, and let's respect the fact that I have been given the opportunity to ask questions, and I think that I only give Adam the respect of doing a follow-up because, yeah.
Okay, quiet. I'm in charge here. Quiet. Why can't you guys show a little bit of respect to me? What do you mean? Madam, what you said has brought some controversy. You said party members. No, we said party. A party people. Do you know who they are?
The warehouse, the supplier agent, and some other people came in there.
I didn't hear you well.
The supplier agent.
Supplier's agent.
Yes. And some other youth came there.
Okay. Yes. To come and take the rice.
No, they didn't take it, but they prevented it from access. The rice is there.
The rice is there?
Yes.
They prevented you at that time,
yes,
to go and access the rice?
Yes.
But now they didn't take anything?
They didn't take it.
And the rice is there?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So,
can you have access to it now?
No.
Why not?
The agent is still not giving us access.
The agent is still not giving you access?
Yes.
Okay. Is it because you haven't paid them?
We have paid the supplier, but the agents are claiming that the supplier haven't paid them.
Okay. So your issue was with the supplier?
Yes.
The supplier took the rice somewhere, and the warehouse people are not giving you access to it because they have an issue with the supplier?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
All right. Continue.
So these items ought to be distributed. I mean, we are talking about rice. Rice has expiration date. If you leave rice in a room for more than a year, the probability of getting infested is high. But so what is the ministry doing about it? Because you see, an agent cannot prevent. These are products of the state. These are products of the state. Once you have paid for it, these are products of the state, and it has to be distributed. So, Minister, I'm a bit worried as to how.
Mr. Chair, so the issue is the ministry paid the supplier. The supplier took the items to a warehouse through an agent. Now the supplier has refused to pay the agent what we paid the supplier. And because of that, we cannot access the rice because the agent says the supplier owes him or the company. And so that's how come we cannot access the rice. But the rice is still there, it's under lock and key. We've made several calls to the supplier to say we need our rice, we need to come for it. And as of now, we still haven't heard from the supplier.
But Minister, this rice in question, at a point was used to feed our secondary schools. This rice that we are talking about, how did you get access to the one that you took to the secondary schools?
That was under a special dispensation from the presidency when we had an emergency, and so we wrote to them, and then they gave us the rice, including some of the distributions we took to, I think the Savannah region where they had a conflict.
So in the same spirit, in the spirit of using the presidency to get access to what is under lock and key, can't we do same? Because you see, we still have secondary schools that need rice. We still have secondary schools that need maize. And we have paid for this rice. We have also engaged a transporter who have been paid some monies to distribute these items. Because the transporter is being prevented, he is now forced to even return part of the money to government. And I think that he's still under a contract to distribute 134,000 metric tons, and he's now brought back the money. What if he went to buy tires for his vehicles? He went to buy vehicles to do the distribution and all of that. He's now been forced to pay some monies, when indeed we have failed to get the supplier, get access or give us access to our products, not his product, to our products that we have paid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I think efforts are underway to be able to further negotiate the supplier so that we can retrieve our items. Thank you.
Chairman, I think at this juncture, we need as a committee to invite the agent as well as supplier to this committee. They must come to this committee, and that will be our recommendation.
And no, not tomorrow. So, Minister, what are you doing to settle the issue?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, together with my boss, we've called the supplier severally, and we are yet to take the next step to invite the supplier and the agent to our office, and then, like you rightly said, or like the member rightly said, we would hopefully like the supplier and the agent to appear before this committee to answer certain questions. Thank you.
I just want to find out if the supplier, to this extent, is known and can easily be accessible.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the supplier is known and can easily be accessible.
Why all this time, this dilly-dallying? Let's move ahead.
And so it is established. It is established. Auditors, but did you get access to the warehouse when you were?
Honorable Minister, Honorable Chair. It is, when we had our first meeting with the Ministry of Finance to let them know our initial observations, Ministry of Agric told us that if we were ready, even at that time, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we could go and visit the warehouse. So we told them it was late. So the following day, first thing in the morning, we sent our staff. When we got there, we didn't have access to the warehouse. The owner of the warehouse is different from the owner of the rice. The Ministry of Agric could not even access the warehouse. So for the first day, we couldn't access the warehouse. As for the maize, the lady told us that it had been a long time. She couldn't even find the way to the warehouse of the maize. That was how she told us. That was exactly how she told us. Then the second time we went, that was when we had access to the rice. The rice, the warehouse of the rice was open. The owner of the warehouse is different from the owner of the rice. And the owner of the rice told us that they would not, we wanted to count to see how many rice this thing was left. That was when he told us that the rice didn't belong to Ministry of Agric because they didn't pay.
But did you go with a staff from the ministry?
She was there. She was there. The procurement officer was there.
So, okay, so in all of this, I mean, so you realize that, one, I'm happy that the auditors are saying they have cited the rice. I'm happy that the auditors are saying they have cited the rice. And I'm also happy that we have paid for the cost of the rice. Now, what is left is for the supplier to reconcile with the owner of the warehouse so that we can get our rice. And so I think Chair has a direction on this.
Clerk, invite the supplier and then the agent here Thursday. And then the ministry will have to come with them. Yes.
But I also want to find out, I mean, aside the distribution of rice and maize, is Rance your usual transporter? What business, other business does he do with the ministry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, yes, what we do know is that he's one of the transporters that we engage in certain...
No, I ask this because now it appears that his business has been frustrated. I mean, he was engaged to distribute a particular product. Now, he was prevented by some parties involved in the entire process, in the entire value chain. And he has now refunded monies or returned monies to chest, which means that, I mean, in terms of business-wise, the transporter involved is struggling. And so if he had other businesses he's doing with the ministry, then he can now be doing reconciliation. Other than that, I'm hoping that by Thursday, the committee is able to get the supplier and the agents involved so that the gentleman involved can now resume his contractual obligations and continue to distribute this rice. Because they all have expiration dates. If the purpose for which this rice were bought is even over, luckily for us, we have schools, we have prisons, especially prisons, that we can take these products to serve the good people of this country. Thank you, Chairman.
So, Chairman, just a small addendum to what my brother...
He's done. So you be the next to take over Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Oh, okay. So just before I go to my substantive portion, let me clarify from the report we have. That's the supplementary report that was submitted, this one. On page 18, it actually says that the contract quantity for transportation that RANS has to execute is 134,000 metric tons. And then they were paid 50 million Ghana cedis, but they actually transported 35,000. And so the quantum of money that they should have earned, they should have been paid, is 30.9 million. That's why they have refunded the 19.1. So based on work done, they were overpaid. And so they have refunded the overpaid component.
Honorable, while I agree with you, I think this has to do with contract. So you engage them that I want you to distribute 134,000 metric tons of rice and maize. Now, you pay him half the amount that is due. You've paid him 50 million of the amount. He's in the process of distributing. It could even be that out of this 50 million, he had to buy new trucks so that he's able to deliver on time. Now, he's prevented by certain circumstances beyond his control. And that is the worry. Yes, he might have distributed 30-something million of the products, but the expectation was that he was going to distribute 134,000. And because of certain circumstances, because certain parties prevented him from doing that, he's failed in doing that. And that will be a worry in terms of business to the company involved.
Right. Let me take you to paragraph, okay, page 102 of the report, volume 1. It talks about 65.2 million as part of the BTAs that has been rejected as services that has not been rendered by the contractor. Honorable Minister, could you explain, well, could you rather confirm if these rejections are valid?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, I think rejecting it at this point is valid because that's still another RANS logistics. So once the work, we were anticipating that this money would have come so that as he's doing, then we'll pay. But the work is not done.
So at least this one you agree with the auditors, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the auditors also make some observation of no evidence of maintenance of aging analysis of arrears. It appears your record systems are not good enough. Is that the case?
No, Honorable.
Can you describe to us how you handle your records such that you are able to keep a good analysis of arrears and commitments that are verifiable usually by auditors?
Honorable, one clear example is what we were just discussing, that among all the money that's, or the claims that they say were already paid, and we've been able to prove that as at the time we had correctly classified them. So what we usually do is that, Honorable, all our entries are manual. In fact, in the first place, when we receive claims, we enter them into a database, indicating what the contract sum is, how much has been paid, how much has been satisfied, how much has been released, and out of the release, how much has been paid. So from that, we're able to determine our outstanding commitments and then our outstanding claims. So this is what gives us an overview of our liabilities at any point in time. And we've been doing this usually monthly. We reconcile with our schedule officers at Ministry of Finance. In this particular case, the data that the auditors use in doing this audit, we provided it. We gave it to Ministry of Finance after consultation, and then that was given to them for the audit.
Auditors recommend that instead of these manual entries and keeping your manual database, they recommend that you should use the GIFMIX platform to handle these. Is that something that is feasible? Can you migrate to that and do that henceforth?
Thank you, Honorable. Much as, we see the wisdom in going digital, especially in data management. But the entries, as at now, was what we are saying, that you needed to tweak the GIFMIX to get a model to be able to handle this recommendation that they are talking about. Because if I receive a claim today, it cannot just directly go into a GIFMIX system. I needed to properly classify it and then be sure that I have funds that I can process in the GIFMIX system. So until I have funds to process, I may have to manually, enter and keep in my database. If you go to the GIFMIX system, you will not be able to see it because it's not in payment process. So we have seen some wisdom in some of the recommendations, but we also noted that some of them, for now, is not practical.
Auditors, do you have any quick comments?
Honorable Chair, as we stated in the report, with respect to aging analysis, we were not provided with aging analysis of the outstanding payables and commitments. With respect to our recommendations that we made, we believe that when these recommendations are implemented, it will go a long way to improve on the liquidity management of the MDA.
So, Ministry, do you have any aging analysis? Do you have?
Honorable, it's in the GIFMIX system. In whatever, what happened is that, Honorable, the recommendation, the aging analysis that they are talking about, I also listened to the Chief Director when he was talking. In the public sector structure, maybe this is very feasible in the corporate structure, but in the public service structure, it's other means that we use. In whatever way, because invoices are raised based on release funds. If you don't have release funds, it's difficult to actually, forecast when you are going to pay what. You can only have them, and then as and when you have allotment or budget, then we pick. So we have agreed with them that it's something that we have to think through. But for the public sector, I've realized that recommendation ran over, when I look at the report, it's run over almost all the MDAs. So what it means is it's a public sector structure problem not
All
at
right.
the MDA level.
So the auditors have some good commentary for you. Verification of assets existence, they had no issue. They thought that the assets existed. Commencement certificate verification, they did not identify any irregularities, which is commendable. Verification of vendor eligibility and documentation, all reviewed claimants met the necessary pre-qualification requirements, so that's also commendable. And I encourage you to keep up in that pathway. Madam Chair, I think that will be the issues that we can deal with. Thank you so much.
So, Minister, I think that, so if you look at, but in all of this, Minister, I need you to confirm whether or not the rice, is the rice still there?
Yes, please. The rice is still there.
The rice is still there?
Yes, please.
Is the maize still there?
Yes, please.
Has the ministry lost any money as a result of this whole?
Yeah,
please.
Sorry, your question again.
Oh, please. Your vice chair is on the floor and you are in. All right. Jay.
Honorable Minister, I see that you are doing a lot of consultations. I don't know whether you heard him, because you submitted here
Jay,
that you had challenges.
Let me put my question. Yes. And in the spirit of protecting the public purse, in the spirit of ensuring that things that belong to us are indeed for us, and I think at the point the auditors confirmed that they have cited the rights. I just needed to know from you, I mean, whether it is under lock and key. Is the rice still there?
Honorable Chair, the rice is there.
Is the maize still there?
No, please.
The maize is not there?
No.
Have we lost any money in terms of the maize?
We haven't paid for the maize.
We have not paid for the maize?
Yes, please.
The state has not paid for the maize?
No, please.
Wow.
Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
That's why we've called the sub-agent and then the supplier to come, and then with the ministry, and we'll find out on Thursday if the maize is there, if the rice is there, and yes. All right, sir. We are done until Thursday. You have a question to ask?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is goes to Minister. It's a public interest one. I come from Navrongo Central constituency, where they do a lot of rice farming in respect to the tunnel irrigation project. A lot of the farmers have approached me that they may not be able to farm this season. And indeed, all other farmers who farm within the valleys, because their rice is not bought.
I'm sorry, is that?
So, what is the plan of the ministry towards buying their rice so that they can continue to produce the rice that we want for our country? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, as you're aware, the President instructed the Ministry of Finance to give the National Buffer Stock 300 million cedis to be able to mop up the excesses on the market, and I believe that is being done. And so please assure your farmers that indeed their rice will be bought in no time.
All right, Minister, you are discharged. Our auditors wants to say something.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, we wanted to make a clarification that we have not actually cited the 10,000 metric tons of the rice. As they have indicated, they have not been given access. What we saw there when we went the second time, the owner of the place said that it did not belong to the ministry because they had a problem with the supplier, right? So that is what is on record. So we have not actually cited the 10,000 metric tons of rice, yeah.
But Minister, you have paid the supplier for the rice.
Yes, we have.
And so when he comes in Thursday, he has to produce the rice that you paid for.
Well, yes.
Yes.
technically.
If he has a problem with the warehouse guy, that's between the two of them.
Yes.
What's the name of the supplier?
Honorable Chair, Thursday he'll be here.
Thursday he'll be here.
Yes, please.
Oh. And what's the name of the warehouse owner? Because Thursday it will be done live.
The warehouse owner is, I think, called Sika Krobia Limited.
Okay.
Yes, please.
And it's right on our records.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes, sir. Alaji.
Chair, we are dealing with public funds, and that is why the Public Accounts Committee is here to peruse this report. So I don't see anything wrong if the minister discloses the name of the supplier, because it is a public record, and we are dealing with public funds, Minister.
The company of the name of the supplier is called Danasi Farms Limited.
Yeah. Okay, it's in the report. It's in the report. Okay, you are discharged till Thursday. All right, thank you. Okay, now the next ministry to call is Ministry of Fisheries. Madam, where is the minister?
Unfortunately, we can't have it.
Turn the microphone on, please.
The Honorable Minister has traveled on official assignment, so we have written to that effect. Thank you.
So we'll have to reschedule you. Yes. The minister needs to be here. So let's call Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts. Ministry of Fisheries. Hello.
Doctor, Chief Director.
Minister of Fisheries. Next week we are going to Tamale. A week after that we come to Kumasi. So you can choose one. And you can get in touch with the clerk. Okay, Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts. Okay, the other ministries that we called are not here. So we'll draw down the curtains for the sitting for today.
Thank you very much, Ranking, and also the chair for today's sitting. Unfortunately, we did not hear anything from Ministry of Tourism, Culture, or Creative Arts. We don't know why they did not come, but they are aware that this report was referred to the Public Accounts Committee by the Speaker, and the Speaker has given us some time to bring our findings and recommendations to the floor of Parliament. And so respectfully, our next meeting after this will be on the 7th of April in Tamale. And on the 20th of April will also be in Kumasi. So the ministries that were not able to come today, you either choose Tamale or Kumasi to make your appearance for us to conclude on these findings. They are very important. We have a program drawn up, and we don't want you to put our program in jeopardy. We have to finish this and continue with the other equally important reports that we have been given. Thank you very much. We'd like to bring today's meeting to a close. Thank the auditors, thank the attendees or invitees, thank our media people, and above all, thank our members of parliament who are supposed to be in their constituency now, but because of this national assignment, they are here seeing to it that we conclude on the report as mandated by Mr. Speaker and the Public Accounts Committee as well. So thank you very much. And Ranking, thank you for today.